It's no accident that this book has found its way to you. It is part of a grand universal design meant to help you receive guidance from infinite wisdom. Allow yourself to relax and be open to this guidance, and your life can begin to transform from this very moment. O seeking soul, do you ever feel caught in a chaotic dance between your desires and reality, where every step seems to lead you deeper into a labyrinth of endless longings? We struggle, we cling, we try to shape the flow of the universe with our finite hands, only to realize that the tighter we grasp, the more the sand slips away. But pause for a moment. Listen to the whisper from the unseen realm, a voice more ancient than time itself, inviting you to return. Return to the zero state, not the emptiness of void, but the fullness of pure potential. It is where the mind becomes as still as a waveless lake, perfectly reflecting the sky of truth. It is that sacred moment when we let go of all biases, all fears, all burdens of past and future, leaving only pure presence in this very instant. Like a seed dormant in the dark earth holding the vibrant life force of an entire forest, when we abide in the zero state, we touch the source of all creation. From that silent space, self-imposed limitations dissolve, giving way to a wondrous clarity. And then as gently as a breath, the things we've deeply longed for are no longer pursuits of arduous chase. They find their way to us like stars aligning in the night sky, not through strenuous effort, but through a natural resonance with the grand symphony of the universe. This is not a distant theory, but an awakening experience waiting to be unlocked within you. This book is the key, the guiding map for you to courageously embark on the journey to discover the zero state, a place where the power to shape your reality is awakened and your soul's deepest desires manifest with ease like magic, crafted by your own hand from sacred stillness. Be ready to witness your life transform not by doing more, but by returning to your true self, to the very origin of all wonders. Part 1, Why Zero, Chapter 1, Effortless Flow, Releasing the Obstacles Within. The river of life is meant to flow abundantly, but sometimes we unknowingly build dams that obstruct its course. James was a talented architect, his designs always imbued with boldness and a unique vision. He nurtured a community project, a green oasis in the heart of the city, where people could reconnect with nature and find stillness. It was his passion, the greatest dream of his life. Yet whenever he set out to seek investment or present his ideas, a fog of anxiety and doubt would envelop him. Is this idea too far-fetched? Will people embrace it? What if it fails? These questions were like massive boulders halting the flow of his energy and confidence. The more he tried to push these boulders away, the heavier they seemed to become. Every presentation was tinged with tension. Every potential meeting ended with a sense of incompleteness. James clearly felt an invisible barrier, a strong resistance from within himself, making the path to his dream increasingly arduous. He didn't realize that his worries, doubts, and fears about whether his desires would materialize were creating an opposing energy field, pushing away the very things he yearned for. One day, during a conversation with a deeply respected teacher who had guided many souls to find peace, James shared his struggles. The teacher listened silently, then gently said, "James, your vessel is sturdy and your design is truly wonderful, but it seems you're trying to row against a fierce current. Have you ever considered that sometimes to reach our destination, we don't need to struggle against the tide, but simply surrender to the flow?" The teacher spoke of the zero state as a way to clear the obstacles from the path so your desires can reach you. He explained that when our minds are filled with worries and doubts, we unconsciously emit negative vibrations, creating resistance to the very blessings the universe wishes to bestow. A state of absolute stillness, devoid of judgment or fear, is how we can temporarily stop generating these opposing energies, allowing the natural flow of creation to resume. The teacher's words initially left James bewildered. Let go. How could he let go when this project was so important? How could he succeed without worrying, without strategizing? It seemed to contradict everything he had ever been taught about striving and controlling outcomes to achieve goals. A fierce internal struggle ensued. Part of him wanted to believe, to try, but his rational mind was full of skepticism. However, the exhaustion from constantly battling himself had reached its peak. One evening, after a less than successful meeting, James felt utterly drained. He no longer wanted to think, analyze, or fear. He sat down, closed his eyes, and for the first time he didn't try to meditate according to any specific method. He simply allowed everything to be as it was. The worries were still present, but he no longer wrestled with them. He just observed them like someone standing on a riverbank watching leaves float by. A sense of lightness gradually spread through him. It wasn't indifference, but a profound acceptance. In that moment of releasing resistance, James experienced a stillness he had never known. No plans, no fear of failure, just a peaceful expanse. He hadn't tried to achieve the zero state, yet it seemed that his surrender, his complete acceptance of reality, had brought him to its threshold. The next morning, James awoke with a new sensation. The invisible weight seemed to have been lifted. He looked at his project plans not with anxious eyes, but with a newfound clarity. Ideas for improvement and fresh approaches surfaced effortlessly. In his next meeting, he no longer tried to convince at all costs. He simply shared his passion, his sincerity, and the project's vision from a place of inner peace. Something magical happened. People listened. They felt the positive energy and confidence radiating from him. Doors that had seemed firmly shut began to creak open. His project started to gain support. James realized that when he stopped creating resistance from within, the external obstacles also began to dissolve. A similar story unfolded for Olivia, a woman who yearned for true love after past heartbreaks. Old wounds were like sharp thorns, always keeping her guarded, compelling her to erect a defensive wall whenever someone tried to get close. She craved love, but the fear of being hurt again created a powerful resistance, pushing away potential connections. She went on dates, but always with a screening mindset, searching for danger signs instead of opening her heart to receive. Then one day, Olivia attended an emotional healing workshop. There, she was introduced to the power of releasing resistance by embracing self-acceptance and self-love, including her emotional scars. She learned to practice the zero state, not to erase the past, but to create a safe inner space where negative emotions could be acknowledged and transformed without needing to cling to them or fight them. This process was far from easy. There were times when old pain surged powerfully, when resistance tried to pull her back into a vortex of doubt and fear, but Olivia persevered. She learned to sit quietly with these emotions, to breathe, and to allow them to pass through her. Gradually, she realized that clinging to her pain didn't make her safer. It only deepened her loneliness. When Olivia truly began to touch those moments of stillness within the zero state, when she could observe her fears without being swept away by them, a remarkable change took place. The invisible wall around her started to crumble. She no longer viewed others through the lens of her past hurts. She began to open her heart, allowing herself to be consciously vulnerable. And then a new love entered her life gently and naturally, when she least expected it. It was a relationship built on trust and acceptance, because Olivia herself had learned to trust and accept who she was, thanks to releasing her inner resistance. Resistance is like trying to drive a car with the parking brake engaged. No matter how hard you press the accelerator, no matter how much effort you exert, the car can't go far, and you might even damage the engine. A mind filled with worry, doubt, and fear is that engaged brake. The zero state helps you gently release that brake, allowing your inner engine, your desires and potential to operate smoothly. It's not about resignation or giving up. It's an intelligent act of liberation. When the obstacles we ourselves create are no longer there, the path ahead naturally clears, and what is meant for us will find its way to us with ease. A practice for releasing inner resistance. Recognizing and releasing resistance is an art that requires self-awareness and self-compassion. Here is a small exercise to help you begin this journey. Name the resistance. Choose an area of your life where you feel stuck or where your desires remain unfulfilled. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and ask yourself, what is truly hindering me here? What am I afraid of? What am I doubting? Be honest with yourself. Write down all the thoughts, feelings, and limiting beliefs that are creating this resistance. Observe without judgment. Look at the list you've written. Instead of criticizing yourself or immediately trying to eliminate these things, try to observe them as an outside observer might. Are these absolute truths, or are they simply stories you've been telling yourself based on past experiences or fears? Acknowledge their presence. Recognize that these forms of resistance exist within you. Don't try to suppress or deny them. Accepting their presence is the first step in diminishing their power. You can silently affirm, I notice this anxiety, doubt, fear within me, and I accept its presence right now. Breathe into the resistance. Choose a specific resistant feeling, e.g., fear of failure. Locate where you feel it in your body. Now, as you inhale, imagine you are sending a loving, accepting breath directly to that area of resistance. As you exhale, imagine the tension and resistance gently dissolving, even if only a little. Repeat this several times. Affirmations for letting go. Use positive affirmations to shift your energetic frequency. For example, I choose to release the need to control everything. I allow good things to come to me easily. I trust the flow of life. Repeat these statements with feeling and conviction. Return to the zero state. Dedicate a few minutes each day to practicing the zero state meditation as guided in a previous section chapter, if applicable, or simply a moment of quiet stillness. This is your space to truly let go of all resistance, even if just for a short while, and to recharge with positive energy. Remember, releasing resistance is an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. Treat yourself with patience and loving kindness. Each time you consciously acknowledge and gently release a layer of resistance, you are clearing the pathway for the universe's blessings and your own dreams to reach you with greater ease. Chapter 2. The Still Lake, a mirror to your deepest desires. Noise doesn't just come from the world outside. It also echoes from the deepest corners of our own minds. Eleanor, a young research scientist, had always prided herself on her analytical skills and logical thinking. Lately, however, she felt like she was standing at a bustling intersection of ideas, hypotheses, and possibilities, all seeming promising, yet no single direction felt truly clear. Her laboratory was filled with notes and unfinished charts, but the passion project she had nurtured for so long still hadn't found its breakthrough. Her mind, once her sharpest instrument, now resembled a kaleidoscope. Each turn revealed a new vibrant yet chaotic pattern, making it impossible for her to see the bigger picture. This lack of clarity began to affect Eleanor's productivity and even her passion. She would spend hours deliberating, comparing, and then second-guessing her own choices. A sense of being stuck crept into her every thought, leaving her fatigued and disoriented. She yearned for a flash of insight, a guiding sign, but all around her was a fog of relentless mental chatter. During a chance attendance at a talk on work-life balance, the speaker mentioned an unfamiliar concept, the zero state. She described it as a silent inner space where all miscellaneous thoughts settle, much like the surface of a lake on a calm, windless morning. Only when the lake of the mind is truly still, the speaker said, can we see the clearest reflection of what we truly desire and which path is meant for us. Eleanor, with her innate scientific curiosity, was drawn to this metaphor. Could it be that the chaos in her mind was precisely why she couldn't see the way forward? Could seeking a zero point help her purify her thoughts, leaving only what was essential and true. She decided to try, though she held little conviction in anything that couldn't be measured or empirically proven. Her initial attempts to empty her mind were a significant challenge. Her brain, accustomed to constant analysis and problem-solving, continually generated new streams of thought. She tried to push them away, but they would return sometimes with even greater force. The external silence seemed only to amplify the internal noise. But Eleanor didn't give up. She remembered the image of the still lake. Instead of trying to suppress the ripples of thought, she learned to observe them, allowing them to arise and then naturally dissipate like clouds, drifting lazily across the sky. Gradually, she began to experience brief moments of stillness between her thoughts. They were fragile, but it was a start. One weekend afternoon, while strolling through a tranquil botanical garden, Eleanor sat down beside a small pond. Its surface was crystal clear, reflecting the azure sky and the gently draping branches of nearby trees. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and this time, instead of striving, she simply allowed herself to merge with the stillness of her surroundings. And then it happened. A profound sense of calm enveloped her. Her thoughts didn't vanish entirely, but they receded, becoming distant and faint, no longer holding the power to dominate her. Her mind became as clear and tranquil as the lake before her. In that stillness there was no complex analysis, no weighing of pros and cons. There was only a gentle, clear knowing. An idea suddenly illuminated her mind, not an intricate scientific hypothesis, but a simple approach, a different perspective on her project that she had previously overlooked. It was so obvious that she wondered why she hadn't recognized it sooner. When she opened her eyes and gazed at the calm surface of the lake, Eleanor smiled. She understood that when her mind ceased its restless agitation, the answer had found its way to her. From then on, the zero state became an invaluable tool for Eleanor, not just in her research, but in her life. Whenever she felt muddled or overwhelmed, she would return to that still lake within, where clarity and focus always awaited. Similarly, Mark, a sports coach, was grappling with the pressure of pulling his team out of a prolonged losing streak. He had tried every tactic, changed lineups, and intensified training sessions, but nothing seemed to work. His mind reeled with analyses of opponents' criticism, from fans and fears about his own future. The stress led to sleepless nights, and even when he was on the field, his mind felt like a tangled mess, rendering him unable to make sound decisions at crucial moments. He remembered his early days in the profession when passion and intuition had guided him naturally. But now, the pressure to perform had cast a fog over everything. A close friend, noticing Mark's growing weariness, suggested he try a simple meditation technique focused on quieting the mind and touching a state of no thought. Mark was initially reluctant, dismissing it as fanciful and impractical in the highly competitive world of sports. However, in a moment of desperation, feeling he had nothing left to lose, Mark gave it a try. He found a quiet corner in the locker room, before each practice, closed his eyes and attempted to let his worries and tactical calculations drift away. At first it was incredibly difficult. The roar of past games, disappointed faces, and worst-case scenarios kept replaying in his mind. But he persisted a little each day. Gradually, Mark began to feel a difference. There were moments, however brief, when his mind would fall completely silent. In that stillness, there was no intricate analysis, but rather a clear perception of his team's strengths and weaknesses, of the players' morale. He started to see things that, lost in the chaos of his anxiety, he had previously missed. One day, during a critical game, Mark's team was trailing. The pressure was immense. Instead of frantically and hopelessly changing tactics as he might have before, Mark took a deep breath and sought that inner stillness he had been practicing. Suddenly, a spark of clarity. He noticed a small vulnerability in the opposing team's formation, an opportunity he could exploit with a simple adjustment. He made the decision calmly and confidently, and his team turned the game around. Mark understood that the zero state wasn't about doing nothing. It was the state from which action becomes more focused and powerful because it stems from a deep, unclouded understanding, free from mental clutter. Like an archer, only when the mind is perfectly still and absolutely focused on the target can the arrow fly straight and true. The still lake of your mind not only reflects what you truly want, but also helps you see the path to achieve it, with an energy that is surprisingly focused and effective. A quiet mind in the zero state is like a perfectly still lake, more clearly reflecting what you truly desire. You are not distracted by chaotic thoughts, which helps you concentrate your energy on your goals more powerfully. When the ripples of anxiety, fear, and the ceaseless demands of life subside, only then can you hear the gentle whisper of your intuition and see the path your heart truly yearns to follow. This clarity doesn't come from more analysis, but from purifying your inner space, allowing the light of your innate wisdom to shine through. Practice reflecting the lake of your mind. To harness the power of clarity and focus from the zero state, you can try the following exercise. Prepare a quiet space. Find a peaceful spot, turn off electronic devices, and ensure you won't be disturbed for about 10 to 15 minutes. Relax your body and mind. Sit in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply, feeling the air fill your body. Exhale slowly, releasing all tension. Repeat this a few times. Observe the lake of your mind. Visualize your mind as the surface of a lake. Initially, there may be many ripples, thoughts, worries, plans. Don't try to stop them. Simply observe them just as you would watch ripples on a real lake. Allow the ripples to subside. With each exhalation, imagine those ripples gently settling. The surface of your mind lake gradually becomes calmer and more peaceful. Be patient. There's no need to force the stillness. Just gently allow it to happen. Contemplate the reflection. When you feel your mind is relatively still, keep your attention there. Now gently ask yourself, no need to think for an answer. Just pose the question and wait. What is truly important to me right now? What is my deepest desire concerning a specific issue you're facing? What small next step would bring me the greatest sense of peace and rightness? Acknowledge without judgment. Whatever arises in your mind, an image, a feeling, a word, acknowledge it gently. Don't rush to analyze or judge it. This could be the reflection from your still lake. Conclude and carry the clarity. When you feel ready, slowly bring your awareness back to your body and your surroundings. Open your eyes. Take a moment to jot down any insights or feelings you gained. This practice isn't about finding all the answers immediately. The goal is to create an inner space where clarity can arise naturally. The more frequently you return to your inner still lake, the more easily you will connect with your inherent wisdom and focus, so that each step you take is steady and true to your heart's deepest calling. Chapter 3. The Zero Gateway to Infinite Possibilities. We often live in a world defined by what is known, what is tangible. The walls of habit, the limits of belief, the boundaries of past experience, all these create a reality that seems fixed and difficult to change. Alexandra, a dedicated art teacher, loved her work, yet deep inside she felt an invisible constraint. Her life flowed smoothly, somewhat predictably, but it lacked the vibrant hues of adventure and unexplored possibilities. She watched her young students create freely on blank paper, unbound by rules or preconceptions, and silently yearned for that same freedom in her own life. She felt as if an immense potential lay dormant within her, but the door to access it seemed firmly locked by self-imposed limitations. One day, while searching for inspiration for a new lesson, Alexandra stumbled upon an ancient philosophical passage about zero, sokung, not as an absence, but as a primordial state, a void containing all potential before it manifests. The passage described that returning to point zero diem, kung in consciousness, was a way to connect with a pure energy field where all possibilities exist, ready to be awakened. This idea initially seemed abstract and elusive to Alexandra. How could nothing be the source of everything? How could absolute stillness open the door to myriad possibilities? Curiosity tinged with a touch of skepticism spurred Alexandra to delve deeper. She began practicing meditation exercises aimed at quieting her mind, letting go of familiar thoughts to try and touch what was called the zero state, trying thai so zero. Initially, her mind remained filled with images and everyday worries, but she persisted a little each day, learning to observe these thoughts and let them pass without clinging to them. Then one afternoon, as she sat quietly in her art studio, amidst the scent of oil paints and unfinished canvases, Alexandra felt a shift. The space around her seemed to settle, and along with it, the invisible walls in her mind began to slowly dissolve. She was no longer just Alexandra, the art teacher, with her familiar limitations and personal narratives. In that moment, she felt herself merge into something vaster, an immense energy field, formless, nameless, yet brimming with endless potential. It was like standing before a colossal blank canvas, where anything could be painted, where all colors and forms awaited their expression. No spectacular event occurred immediately afterward, yet when Alexandra returned to her everyday reality, she carried a different perception. The world was the same, but the way she saw it had changed. The limitations that once seemed so solid no longer held such power. She felt an inner freedom, a conviction that she could experiment with new things not only in her art, but in her life. An unexpected surge of creative inspiration flowed through her, compelling her to try new painting styles and materials she had never dared to touch before. More importantly, she began to see possibilities in places where she had previously only seen dead ends. The locked door seemed to have been nudged open, not by a physical key, but by a shift in her awareness, by touching the infinite potential of zero. The story of Daniel, a software engineer, resonates with a similar theme. He was working on a challenging high-tech project, and his team had hit a roadblock, facing a technical problem that seemed to have no solution within their existing knowledge and experience. Pressure mounted and creativity felt utterly depleted. Daniel felt like he was banging his head against a brick wall. Every effort seemed futile. While searching for a new approach, Daniel read an article on the role of stillness in sparking breakthroughs. The article cited research on how temporarily disconnecting from a problem, allowing the mind to enter a restful, empty state, could help the brain form new connections and find unexpected solutions. This reminded him of the zero-state concept he had heard about. Though a practical man, Daniel decided to give it a try. Instead of continuing to relentlessly analyze the problem, he and his team dedicated short periods each day to practicing stillness. They would sit quietly, close their eyes, and try to release all thoughts about the project and its pressures, simply allowing their minds to rest, to return to point zero. At first, this seemed counterproductive. How could they find a solution by not thinking about it? But gradually they began to notice the benefits. After these periods of quiet, their minds felt refreshed and less stressed. And then during a team meeting following one of these stillness sessions, an unexpected idea emerged from one of the members. It was completely different from anything they had considered before, a bold new direction that held the potential to solve the core problem. Daniel realized that the zero state was not a negative emptiness, but a fertile ground of pure potential. When we temporarily let go of old thought patterns and the limitations of what we already know, we allow new possibilities and unthought-of solutions the chance to sprout. It's like wiping a blackboard clean to make space for new equations, for breakthrough ideas. Zero in this context is not an end, but the beginning of countless possibilities. It is the gateway to a treasury of infinite solutions and creativity, where all possibilities await discovery and manifestation into reality. When you return to the zero state, you are temporarily setting aside your personal ego with its stories, limitations, and definitions of self. You touch a deeper level of awareness where you are part of the vast cosmic energy field, a field containing all unformed potential. Like a drop of water merging with the ocean, you don't disappear, you become the ocean. And from that state of unity, you can draw upon resources, ideas, and inspiration you never knew you possessed. A practice for opening to infinite potential. Connecting with the infinite potential within you isn't a complex technique, but an act of allowing a returning. Here is an exercise you can try to touch this space. Find stillness. Choose a quiet time and space where you can completely relax without being disturbed. Release identifications. Sit comfortably, close your eyes. Breathe deeply and evenly. With each exhalation, imagine you are gently letting go of the roles, labels, and stories you usually tell about yourself, e.g., I am a mother, I am an employee, I am an anxious person, I'm not good at this. Simply allow them to temporarily drift away. Sense the inner space. As these outer identifications fade, turn your attention to the space within you. There's no need to look for anything specific. Just sense the vastness, the stillness, the unformed nature of that space. Visualize pure potential. Imagine this inner space as a field of pure, sparkling light energy. This is where all possibilities, all ideas, all solutions, all the best versions of yourself exist as potential. It's like a star-filled sky, where each star is a possibility waiting for you to discover. Ask open-ended questions. In this state of stillness and connection, gently pose an open-ended question about an area where you'd like to experience more possibility or a breakthrough, e.g., what potentials await me in my career? In what new ways can I express my creativity? What solution to current challenge have I not yet considered? Don't try to think for an answer. Just hold the question in that space of potential and be open to whatever arises, a feeling, an image, a sudden thought. Carry the feeling of it's possible. As you conclude the exercise, carry this sense of vastness and infinite potential with you into your daily life. Remember that beneath the limitations you usually perceive, there is always a space of all possibilities waiting to be touched and expressed by you. The zero state is not a place to escape reality, but a space to recharge, to reconnect with your creative source and your own boundless potential. As you regularly return to this still point of zero, you will find that doors you thought were firmly closed will gradually begin to open, and your life will be filled with exciting surprises, new opportunities, and a profound belief in your own infinite capabilities. Chapter 4. Listening to the Whispers of the Universe. In the bustling symphony of modern life, where logic is lauded and data-driven decisions are the norm, there's a more delicate sound, a deeper wisdom often overlooked, the voice of intuition and the guiding messages from the universe. Richard, a successful financial analyst, always prided himself on his ability to make decisions based on complex numbers and charts. His life was methodically arranged, each step carefully calculated. Yet when faced with a significant life crossroads, choosing between a major career advancement in a distant city and maintaining his stable current life, all his logical analyses failed to bring him peace or a truly satisfying answer. The more he tried to weigh the pros and cons, the more confused he felt. A vague unease crept in, a subtle whisper from deep within that he couldn't quite name. He confided in an old friend, someone with a somewhat freer lifestyle, who believed in things beyond conventional reasoning. The friend listened, then smiled. "Richard," he said, "perhaps you're trying to solve a problem of the heart with the tools of the mind. Sometimes the most important answers aren't found in spreadsheets, but in the stillness where you can hear yourself and more subtle forms of guidance." His friend spoke of the zero state not just as a place to find peace, but as a space for the mind to become silent enough to hear the messages that intuition and the universe are always gently sending. This idea initially seemed foreign to Richard. Guidance from the universe, signs. Such concepts sounded nebulous and unfounded to someone accustomed to working with tangible facts. He had always believed his success stemmed from hard work and sharp analytical skills, not from vague feelings or hunches. However, his growing sense of being stuck and the increasing unease led him to try a different approach, even if only to prove to himself that it wouldn't work. He began practicing simple exercises to quiet his mind, attempting to reach the so-called zero state. In the early sessions, his mind was still an endless debate, weighing the advantages and disadvantages of each choice. But gradually, with persistence, he started to experience brief moments of stillness. In those moments, the urgent need to find the answer subsided. One weekend morning, while meditating in his small backyard garden, Richard stopped trying to analyze or search. He simply allowed himself to be there in the quiet. Suddenly, a sense of relief and a very clear knowing washed over him. It wasn't a logical thought, but a profound feeling that continuing to develop what he already had and dedicating more time to his family was the right path for him at this juncture. The feeling was so strong and peaceful that all his previous indecision vanished. At that very moment, a white butterfly unexpectedly fluttered before him and then landed on a nearby flower, an image he later learned symbolizes transformation and auspicious messages in many cultures. Richard didn't rush into making a decision immediately, but he started paying more attention to signs and his inner feelings. He realized that when his mind was less cluttered, he became more attuned to meaningful coincidences, to unexpected encounters that brought valuable information, or to ideas that flashed into his mind when he least expected them. Eventually, he decided to stay. And miraculously, following that decision, new opportunities began to open up right where he was. Opportunities that in his earlier preoccupation with searching for something far away, he had completely overlooked. He learned that the universe always has its own ways of guiding us, and the stillness of the zero state is the key that allows us to listen and recognize that guidance. The story of Sophia, a young writer struggling to find an idea for her debut novel, also illustrates the power of listening from a place of stillness. She had spent months researching, reading, and outlining plots, but everything still felt like disconnected pieces, lacking a soul, a true connection. She felt pressured to create something unique, something that would make a mark, and that very pressure seemed to be damming up her creative flow. During a workshop on creativity, she heard a speaker share how great ideas often don't come from an effort of will, but tend to visit us in moments of relaxation when the mind is not being forced. The speaker mentioned practicing stillness, bringing the mind to point zero as a way to open the channel for receiving subtle messages from a larger field of ideas. Sophia, being a sensitive soul, felt a resonance with this. She began dedicating time each day to sit quietly, not trying to think up ideas, but simply allowing her mind to settle. She focused on her breath, observing thoughts as they came and went without judgment. Initially, the silence felt almost intimidating, as she was so accustomed to her mind always being busy. But then, in those deepening moments of stillness, images, snippets of dialogue, and vague emotions began to surface naturally. They weren't like the ideas she had tried to meticulously craft with her intellect. These felt more alive, more authentic. One morning, after a deep meditation session, a fully formed character with a unique story unexpectedly appeared in her mind, clear down to the smallest detail. It felt as if she hadn't invented the character, but rather that the character had chosen her to tell its story. Sophia realized that the zero state is like tuning a radio. When your mind is full of the static of worries, expectations, and judgments, you can't pick up the subtle signals. But when you adjust your mind to stillness, to point zero, that communication channel becomes clear. Your intuition sharpens and you more easily recognize the signs, synchronicities, and inspirations the universe is quietly sending your way. This isn't some far-off mystical concept, but a latent ability within each of us, waiting to be awakened in stillness. A silent mind more easily hears the subtle messages, the guidance from intuition and the universe. The zero state helps you become more sensitive to the signs and opportunities the universe sends. Just as the calm surface of a lake can clearly reflect the entire sky, a stilled mind can perceive the finest vibrations of life, the whispers of the universe that are impossible to hear amidst the noise of daily life. A practice for listening to the universe's whispers, to enhance your ability to connect with intuition and universal guidance. You can practice the following steps, especially after experiencing the stillness of the zero state. Create space for silence. Dedicate time each day for stillness, even if it's just for a few minutes. Practice the zero state meditation to quiet the noise in your mind. Ask questions with sincerity. Before or after meditation, pose the questions or issues for which you are seeking guidance. Ask from your heart with openness and sincerity, not with demand or impatience. For example, please show me the clearest next step, or what guidance is there for me in this situation? Observe signs around you. After asking your question, become more attentive to the world around you in the following days. These signs might include synchronicities, coincidentally hearing a song with lyrics relevant to your situation, seeing a recurring message in various places, or meeting the right person who can help you at precisely the right time. Gut feelings, a strong inner sensation telling you to do or not do something, even if your logic can't explain why. Dreams, messages, or symbols appearing in your dreams that may hold profound meaning, sudden insights, ideas, or solutions that flash into your mind when you're doing something completely unrelated or just after waking up. Keep a record, carry a small notebook, or use a notes app on your phone to jot down these signs, feelings, and ideas. Journaling can help you recognize patterns and confirm the guidance over time. Trust, even when it's unclear. Sometimes guidance may not be immediately obvious or align with your logic. Learn to trust these subtle perceptions, even if you don't fully understand their meaning at the time. Acting on small intuitive nudges can often open up larger pathways. Be grateful for guidance. When you receive a clear sign or a sense of direction, take a moment to feel gratitude. Gratitude opens your heart and strengthens your connection to the flow of the universe. Remember, the universe is always communicating with us, but its language is often subtle. Practicing the zero state helps us tune our inner antenna so we can receive these loving and wise messages, guiding us on our life's journey more gently and meaningfully. Chapter 5. Harmonizing with the Universe. The frequency of inner peace. Every thought, every emotion we experience carries an energy, a unique vibrational frequency, invisible yet possessing the power to shape the reality around us. David was an energetic project manager, but the relentless pace of work and the unseen pressures of life often left him mired in stress and anxiety. He felt as though he were carrying an invisible burden, each step heavy and labored. Minor troubles seemed to appear one after another, and his attempts to resolve them while feeling tired and irritable usually only made matters more entangled. He didn't realize that his prolonged negative state had unintentionally lowered his own energetic vibration, making him like a magnet, attracting only unwanted experiences. During a talk on holistic health, David encountered a rather new concept: the vibrational frequency of human beings and its influence on the quality of life. The speaker explained that negative emotions like worry, fear, and anger generate low, heavy vibrations, while positive emotions such as love, gratitude, and peace create high light vibrations. And according to the law of attraction, we tend to draw to us people, events, and circumstances that share the same vibrational frequency as our own. The zero state, the speaker emphasized, with its absolute peace and stillness, is a powerful way to purify negative vibrations and elevate your frequency to a level compatible with the good things you wish to attract. David, accustomed to concrete and logical solutions, was initially quite skeptical. Vibrational frequency, how can that even be measured? He considered such ideas somewhat vague. However, his chronic fatigue and the feeling of being stuck in life made him less rigid. He decided to explore and practice finding his way back to the zero state, not with the expectation of instantly changing his frequency, but simply with the hope of finding a little peace for his overloaded mind. The first practice sessions were not easy. His mind still danced relentlessly with worries, but he persisted, dedicating a short period each day to sitting quietly, focusing on his breath and allowing the streams of thought to gradually settle. Slowly, he began to experience real moments of stillness. In those moments, the invisible burden seemed to lighten. He no longer felt swept away by storms of negative emotions. Surprisingly, after a period of consistent practice, David began to notice subtle changes in his daily life. He felt calmer when facing problems. Minor troubles might still arise, but they no longer devastated him or caused him to overreact as before. He felt lighter, as if a fog of negativity had been lifted. And then small good things started to happen more frequently. A difficult project suddenly found an unexpected solution. A strained relationship became more amicable, and new opportunities emerged naturally. David realized that as he changed his inner state, as the peace and stillness of the zero state helped him raise his frequency, the world around him also seemed to begin to harmonize with him on a more positive frequency. The story of Elena, a violinist, carries a different nuance, but echoes the same message. After a personal crisis, she lost her joy in music. Her playing became heavy and melancholic, lacking its inherent lightness and expressiveness. She clearly felt her energy was at a very low point, affecting not only her music but also her health and relationships. She knew she needed a change, but felt lost with her sorrow still so profound. A friend, also a musician, shared with Elena how absolute stillness could aid in healing and uplifting the spirit. This friend didn't speak of trying to be positive or pushing away sadness, but rather of finding a space of nothingness within the zero state to allow all emotions to be present without judgment, from which a natural transformation could occur. Elena began her practice. She would sit quietly with her violin beside her, not attempting to play any particular piece. She simply breathed, allowing her sorrow and emptiness to exist. Gradually, in that stillness, she felt a fragile peace begin to emerge. It wasn't a boisterous joy, but a deep acceptance, an inner stillness. From that place of stillness, one day she gently lifted her bow. The first notes that sounded were no longer the mournful cry of sadness, but a light, ethereal melody, like the dawn after a long night. Her playing began to rediscover its clarity and emotion. Audiences felt the change. Performance invitations started to return. More importantly, Elena felt joy and a renewed connection with her music. She understood that when she allowed herself to return to point zero, where negative emotions no longer held her captive, her vibrational frequency had naturally risen. And from that new frequency, she not only attracted positive developments in her career, but also found the inner peace and strength to continue her journey. Worry and stress truly lower your vibrational frequency, much like tuning a string too loosely makes an instrument sound discordant. The zero state, with the peace and stillness it brings, is like gently retuning the instrument of your soul. When the dissonant noises of anxiety subside, your natural vibrational frequency is restored and elevated, becoming clear and harmonious. From that higher frequency, you begin to resonate naturally with experiences, people, and opportunities that bring joy, abundance, and the beautiful things you've always longed for. This isn't magic, it's a fundamental law of how universal energy operates, a practice for elevating your frequency of peace. Raising your vibrational frequency is a conscious journey, beginning with the awareness and transformation of your inner states. Here are a few suggestions you can practice. Recognize your current frequency. Take a little time each day to check in with your emotions. How are you feeling? Heavy, tired, worried, or light, joyful, peaceful? Become aware that these emotions correspond to a certain vibrational frequency. Return to point zero when needed. Whenever you feel caught up in negative emotions or feel your frequency drop, take a few minutes to practice the zero state. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and allow your mind to settle. This is a quick way to reset and bring you back to a state of balance. Nourish high-frequency emotions. Actively seek out and cultivate positive emotions, such as gratitude. Each day, think of at least 3 things in your life for which you feel grateful. Love and compassion. Send kind thoughts to yourself and others. Practice small acts of kindness. Joy. Make time for activities that bring you genuine joy and enthusiasm. Peace. Seek out moments of quiet. Connect with nature. Use sound and light. High-frequency music such as classical meditative or soothing instrumental pieces, and exposure to natural sunlight can also help elevate your vibrational frequency. Pay attention to your environment. Your living environment and the people you interact with also influence your frequency. Strive to create a harmonious, uncluttered living space and spend time with positive, optimistic individuals. Positive affirmations. Use affirmations imbued with high energy to reprogram your subconscious mind. For example, I am vibrating at the frequency of love and abundance. I attract wonderful experiences into my life. Remember, elevating your vibrational frequency isn't about forcing yourself to be constantly happy or ignoring difficult emotions. It's about becoming aware of the power of your inner state and consciously choosing the peace and stillness of the zero state as a solid foundation. From that foundation, your frequency will naturally rise, helping you not only feel better, but also truly create a more harmonious and fulfilling life moment by moment. Chapter 6. The Sacred Pause, Inviting the New to Emerge. Life is in constant motion, carrying an endless flow of new opportunities and experiences. Yet we often unknowingly keep our doors closed to them, simply because our minds are already too full. Laura, an enthusiastic interior designer, yearned to create unique and inspiring living spaces. She was brimming with countless ideas, detailed sketches, and meticulous plans for each project. However, despite her relentless efforts, she still felt a sense of stagnation, as if the new things she hoped for couldn't find a way in. Her mind was like a room cluttered with old furniture, past experiences, preconceived notions of shoulds and shouldn'ts, leaving no empty space for truly groundbreaking ideas or unexpected opportunities to visit. She attended workshops, devoured books on creativity, and tried to cram in more knowledge and skills, hoping to find the key to a breakthrough. But the harder she tried, the more suffocated she felt. An older colleague whose designs always bore a distinctive personal touch and a refreshing newness noticed Laura's struggle. One day he gently said to her, "Laura, you have a treasure trove of wonderful ideas, but perhaps what you need isn't to seek more, but to create space. Just as a full cup cannot hold more water, a mind cluttered with old things cannot receive the new. Sometimes emptiness is the most fertile ground for new seeds to sprout." Her colleague shared about the zero state not as an act of laziness or passivity, but as a deliberate act of creating the necessary empty space, Kwang Kong, for the things you desire to find their way into your life. This idea initially made Laura uneasy. Stop thinking, how can I be creative if I don't think? If I don't plan? The concept of doing nothing seemed to go against her very nature, which always leaned towards control and proactivity. However, her growing sense of being stuck spurred her to experiment. Laura began dedicating short periods each day to practicing stillness. She didn't try to think about her projects or analyze old ideas. She simply sat quietly focused on her breath and allowed the streams of thoughts, plans, and work-related worries to slowly drift by like clouds in the sky. She visualized her mind as a room being decluttered, old items and stagnant energy gradually being cleared away, leaving behind a fresh, airy, and pristine space. In the beginning, this decluttering process was far from easy. Familiar thoughts and work pressures constantly vied for her attention. But Laura persisted. Gradually, she began to experience real moments of emptiness, a stillness that didn't signify a void, but rather an opening, a readiness. And then something magical began to happen. In those quiet pauses, fresh ideas completely different from anything she had previously conceived started to emerge naturally. They didn't come from strenuous analysis, but appeared like unexpected flashes of light in the still space. When she returned to her desk, solutions to lingering problems in her old projects also became clearer. More importantly, new opportunities began to find their way to her. An invitation to collaborate on a unique project. She never thought she'd have a chance at a client who approached her with entirely new requirements, sparking a wellspring of inspiration within her. Laura realized that when she actively created empty space in her mind and energy, she had truly opened the door to receive the wonderful things the universe is always ready to offer. Her cup was no longer filled with old, stagnant contents. It now had room for a fresh, clear, and invigorating flow. The story of Ben, a man trying to rebuild his life after a difficult period, also serves as a testament to the power of creating space. He had lost his job and close relationships had become distant. His mind was filled with regrets about the past, anxieties about the future, and self-recrimination. He longed for a new beginning, but it seemed no doors were opening for him. He felt trapped in a vicious cycle of negative thoughts, with no room left for any glimmer of hope or opportunity. While coincidentally reading an article about minimalist philosophy and the power of letting go, Ben encountered the concept of decluttering not only physical spaces but mental ones as well. The article emphasized that for new things to come into our lives, we need to free ourselves from the burdens of the past and limiting beliefs that no longer serve us. The zero state was mentioned as an effective tool for creating that necessary emptiness, a space for the soul to heal and regenerate. Ben decided to apply this to his life. He started by decluttering his home, getting rid of unnecessary belongings and items that evoked sad memories. Simultaneously, he practiced decluttering his mind. Each day, he spent time sitting quietly facing his negative thoughts and emotions, not to wallow in them, but to identify, accept, and then gently let them pass. He imagined himself throwing open the windows of his soul, allowing fresh breezes to blow away the old dust. This process wasn't always comfortable. There were days when painful memories surged with great intensity. But Ben didn't give up. He understood that to make space for better things, he needed to bravely confront and release what was occupying him internally. Gradually, he felt lighter. The weight on his shoulders seemed to lessen. His mind became clearer. And then changes began to manifest. An old friend unexpectedly got in touch, offering a temporary job opportunity. A small business idea he had once cherished suddenly became clear and feasible. He started to feel more optimistic, ready to open himself up to new relationships. Ben realized that when he courageously let go of the old things cluttering his mental space, he had truly made way for new opportunities, new people, and a brighter future to enter his life. The still space he created wasn't about loss. It was an invitation for better things to find him. Just as a garden needs to be cleared of weeds, so new seeds can sprout and flourish. Our minds also need quiet pauses, empty spaces to receive creative ideas, unexpected opportunities, and the blessings that life brings. The zero state, with its inherent stillness and emphasis on letting go, is the powerful tool that helps us perform this mental spring cleaning. When we free ourselves from the burdens of the past, outdated biases, and unnecessary worries, we not only feel lighter but also swing wide the doors to welcome the myriad good things waiting to enter. A practice for creating a welcoming pause to create the necessary space in your mind and life. Try applying these practical steps. Identify illusory fullness. Take some time to reflect what is currently occupying your mind. Is it repetitive worries, overly detailed and rigid plans, limiting beliefs about yourself and the world, or old memories that no longer serve you? Write them down if it helps you identify them more clearly. Practice letting go in the zero state. When you practice your zero state meditation, set a gentle intention to release bungsa the items you've identified. Visualize these old thoughts, emotions, and beliefs as clouds slowly dissolving, or as leaves gently falling and being carried away by a stream, leaving a clear and tranquil space within you. Declutter your physical space. Your living environment often mirrors your inner space. Dedicate time to declutter and organize your home or office. Remove unnecessary items and anything that brings a feeling of heaviness or evokes unpleasant memories. A clear physical space can actively support the creation of mental space. Practice saying no to the unnecessary. Learn to decline requests, activities, or commitments that don't truly add value to your life or that drain your energy. This helps protect your space and time for what is genuinely important. Make time for doing nothing. In your busy schedule, consciously carve out short periods of time with absolutely no agenda or specific goals. Simply allow yourself to be, observe the world around you, or listen to the stillness within. These are precious moments for your mind to rest and for new things to have a chance to arise. Be open to the unexpected. Once you've created space, maintain an attitude of openness and readiness to receive unexpected things and unplanned opportunities. Sometimes the best things in life arrive via paths we never anticipated. Creating space to receive is not a passive act, but a conscious choice to live a more open and abundant life. When the cup of your mind is no longer filled to the brim with the old, you will be amazed at the wonderful gifts the universe is always ready to pour into the emptiness you have bravely created. Chapter 7. The Dance of Serenity, Flowing with Life. We humans often harbor an innate desire for control. We make plans, set goals, and strive relentlessly to make everything unfold according to our wishes. But sometimes this very effort to grasp and direct every detail of life becomes the source of stress and resistance, hindering the natural flow of creation. William, an ambitious young entrepreneur, was a prime example. He had built his company from the ground up, and the habit of controlling every aspect from the minutest details of daily operations to long-term strategies was deeply ingrained in him. He believed that only strict control could guarantee success. Yet as his company grew, the burden of control became overwhelming. He frequently felt stressed, suffered from insomnia, and decisions made in a state of fatigue often failed to yield the desired results. Ironically, the more he tried to control, the more he felt everything slipping from his grasp. While attending a meditation retreat for business professionals, initially just to find a way to reduce stress, William first encountered the concept of the zero state. The instructor didn't speak of abdicating responsibility or surrendering to fate. Instead, she talked about the power of letting go of control and acceptance as a path to achieving inner peace and surprisingly greater effectiveness in work. When you try to clutch a river, she said, you only make the water splash wildly and your hand grow weary. But when you learn to relax, to flow with the current, you can travel much farther with far less effort. This idea was initially a shock to William. Let go of control. Wasn't that a sign of weakness, of failure? How could a business operate if its leader wasn't firmly at the helm? Skepticism and the fear of losing his position of control almost made him want to leave the retreat. However, something in the stillness of the practice sessions, in those brief moments when his mind temporarily paused its relentless planning and worrying, touched a profound place deep within William. He began to realize that the absolute control he had been pursuing was merely an illusion. Life and the market always involve elements of uncertainty, and trying to fight against them only left him more exhausted. Gradually, William began to experiment with applying the principle of letting go to small situations in his work. Instead of trying to solve every problem himself, he learned to trust and delegate more to his team. When a plan didn't unfold as expected, rather than immediately trying to intervene and fix it, he would take a moment to return to the zero state, to observe the situation with a calmer mind, and to accept that some things were beyond his control. Something remarkable happened. When he was less stressed and controlling his team became more effective and creative. Unexpected solutions emerged from surprising places. Seemingly intractable problems found their way to gentle resolutions. William realized that letting go of control didn't mean abandoning his goals, but rather releasing his attachment to a single rigid path to achieve them. It meant trusting in collective wisdom, in the natural flow of events, and in his own ability to adapt. He was still the captain of his ship, but now, instead of fighting every wave, he learned to steer his vessel more skillfully, harnessing the power of the ocean itself. His life became lighter, and his business, strangely enough, grew more sustainably. The story of Amelia, a mother completely devoted to her children, also offers a profound lesson in letting go and acceptance. She always wanted the absolute best for her two teenage children. She meticulously planned their studies, extracurricular activities, and even their friendships. She believed her strict control was essential to ensure their bright future. But the more she tried to control, the wider the distance between herself and her children seemed to grow. They became rebellious and withdrawn, and the family atmosphere was constantly tense. During a heart-to-heart with a family counselor, Amelia was advised to practice acceptance and to take a step back, allowing her children the space to make their own decisions and learn from their own experiences. The counselor introduced her to the zero state as a way to find inner peace, to confront her fear of losing control, and to learn to trust in her children's capabilities. Initially, Amelia found this incredibly difficult. The thought of letting her children freely make important decisions caused her immense anxiety and sleepless nights. The fear that they would make mistakes or stray from the right path haunted her. But seeing the ever-increasing distance from her children, she knew she had to change. She began to practice seeking inner stillness. Whenever she felt the urge to intervene or control her children, she would take a deep breath, try to bring her mind to point zero, where there was no judgment, no fear, only observation and acceptance. Gradually, Amelia learned to listen to her children more instead of just issuing directives. She began to trust their judgment, even when their choices differed from what she had hoped for. She accepted that each child's path is unique, and her role was to be a companion and supporter, not a controller and imposer. When Amelia truly released the burden of control, a wonderful transformation occurred in her family. Her children became more open, willing to share their thoughts and feelings. They started taking more responsibility for their decisions and surprisingly began making increasingly mature choices. The family atmosphere grew warm and harmonious. Amelia realized that true love isn't about control, but about acceptance and trust. And it was precisely when she let go that she felt a deeper connection than ever before with her children. Trying to control every detail of how things manifest often creates stress and resistance. The zero state encourages letting go, trusting the process, and accepting that everything will unfold in the best possible way, even if that way is different from what we originally envisioned. Like a gardener, we can sow seeds and tend to them, but we cannot control the sunshine or the rain. Our task is to do our part to the best of our ability, and then trust in the marvelous workings of nature. Letting go in this context isn't indifference or resignation. It's an act of wisdom and profound faith in a larger order. A practice for dancing with the flow, to learn how to release control and cultivate acceptance. You can try the following exercises, especially when you are accessing the stillness of the zero state. Identify your control zones. Reflect on the areas of your life where you are trying to exert excessive control. This could be your work relationships, health, or your future. What makes you feel such a strong need to control these aspects? What fears might be lurking beneath this need? Practice relaxing your grip. When you are in the zero state, visualize yourself tightly clenching something in your hand. This represents your control. Slowly, consciously unfurl your fingers and release that grip. Feel the sense of relief as you let go. Tell yourself, I release the need to control the specific situation or outcome. I trust the flow of life. Accept the present as it is. Instead of constantly comparing your current reality to how you wish it would be, try to accept everything as it is in this very moment, whether good or bad. Acceptance doesn't mean you condone it or give up on improvement. It means you stop fighting against reality, thereby creating a peaceful foundation from which wiser actions can emerge. Find lessons in uncertainty. When things don't go according to plan, instead of becoming disappointed or trying to wrestle back control, ask yourself, is there a lesson I can learn from this situation? Is there an opportunity hidden within this change? Focus on what you can control, which is your response. You cannot control every external event, but you can always control how you respond to them. Practice choosing calm, wise, and constructive responses rather than negative, fear-based reactions. Trust in a greater wisdom. Cultivate a belief that there is a greater intelligence, a universal flow at work, and that everything will ultimately unfold in the best way for your growth, even if you cannot see the whole picture right now. Learning to let go of control and cultivate acceptance is a delicate dance between conscious action and trust in the flow of life. When you master this dance, you will find not only peace and serenity in your soul, but also discover an inner strength far greater than control itself, the power of harmony and co-creation with the universe. Chapter 8. Aligning with the cosmic flow, the universe operates according to rhythmic laws, a vast and flexible current, always moving towards balance and growth. Yet we humans, with our detailed plans and fear of uncertainty, often try to swim against this current, exhausting ourselves, fighting the waves, failing to realize that sometimes yielding is the wisest path. Isabella, a talented event planner, was renowned for her meticulous attention to every detail. She believed that the success of each event depended entirely on tightly controlling every element, down to the smallest task. But recently, despite doubling her efforts, her projects continually encountered unexpected obstacles and uncontrollable incidents, making her feel as if she were battling an invisible force. Stress and fatigue accumulated, and the joy in her work gradually faded. She didn't know that by rigidly swimming upstream, with excessive effort and worry, she was distancing herself further from the natural flow of ease. During a short retreat to rejuvenate her energy, Isabella chanced upon a tea discussion on Eastern philosophy. The Zen master facilitating the talk spoke of the Tao, the natural flow of the universe, and the importance of living in harmony with it. He described the zero state as a gateway for the mind to quiet down, enabling one to sense and merge with the universe's rhythm rather than trying to impose personal will upon reality. Imagine your boat, the Zen master said. Instead of trying to row against treacherous rapids, learn to listen to the river's call, allowing it to gently carry you to peaceful shores. These words initially felt somewhat nebulous to Isabella, a person accustomed to being proactive and in control. Merge with the flow, isn't that being passive, simply surrendering to fate? The fear of losing her agency, the anxiety that things wouldn't unfold as she wished, still lingered. However, the image of the river and the boat kept returning to her mind. The exhaustion from constantly battling made her more receptive to a new approach. Upon returning from her trip, Isabella began dedicating time each morning to practicing stillness, trying to bring her mind to the zero state. She didn't attempt to solve work problems during these moments. Instead, she simply allowed herself to listen to the quiet within, to the subtle sensations of her body, to the gentle urges she had previously ignored in her preoccupation with plans. Gradually, a transformation began. Isabella noticed that as her mind grew quieter, she started to perceive a different rhythm in her work. Instead of trying to force everything to adhere strictly to Plan A or Plan B, she became more flexible. When an obstacle arose, rather than immediately rushing to tackle it by any means necessary, she would pause, seek stillness, and often an unexpected solution or an easier path would present itself. She began to pay attention to synchronicities, to small opportunities appearing at just the right moment, to colleagues suddenly offering brilliant ideas. Her work started to flow more smoothly, with less stress, and surprisingly, the results were even better. Isabella realized that the universe possesses a supportive current, and when she stopped trying to swim against it and learned to yield, everything became significantly lighter and more effective. She was no longer a lone fighter, but a wise companion moving in harmony with the cosmic flow. The story of James, a scientist diligently researching a new healing method, also illustrates the power of aligning with this flow. He had spent years in the laboratory testing countless hypotheses, yet the final breakthrough eluded him. Impatience for results, pressure from investors, and the fear of failure kept his mind in a constant state of tension. He worked day and night trying to control every variable, but the more he tried, the more stuck he felt. Once, while attending a workshop on the intersection of science and consciousness, James heard a presentation on the role of intuition and purposeful relaxation in the process of scientific discovery. The speaker argued that sometimes the greatest discoveries don't come from pure logical analysis, but from aha moments when the mind is relaxed, allowing unexpected connections to form. The zero state was mentioned as a method to create the space for such moments. Though an empirical scientist, his prolonged deadlock led James to experiment. He began dedicating short periods each day to meditation, not to find answers, but simply to allow his mind to rest, completely releasing all pressure and expectations. He learned to observe his work-related thoughts as they came and went without clinging to them. One afternoon, after a session of deep practice, when his mind was completely still, an unexpected image flashed into his thoughts, a model connecting the elements of his research in an entirely new way, a way he had never considered before. It was astonishingly simple, yet it resolved the very knot he had grappled with for so long. James hurriedly jotted down the idea. Upon testing it with scientific methods, he realized it was the key he had been searching for. He understood that when he stopped trying to force results, when he allowed his mind to merge into a state of stillness and openness, he had inadvertently created the conditions for the flow of universal wisdom to guide him. The breakthrough hadn't come from confrontational effort, but from alignment. The universe has a natural flow, a vast intelligence that operates perfectly. When you are in the zero state, your mind becomes clear, free from the disturbances of an anxious and controlling ego. From this state, you can more easily sense and merge with this flow instead of trying to swim upstream with excessive effort and worry. This doesn't mean becoming passive. Rather, it means acting more wisely with a heightened sensitivity to the opportunities and support that the universe provides. You learn to dance with life with flexibility and trust instead of trying to control every single step. A practice for aligning with the universe's flow. To sense and merge with the natural flow of the universe, try these methods, especially when you have found stillness in the zero state. Listen to with the flow and against the flow sensations. In your daily activities, pay attention to how you feel. When things seem to move easily and support appears readily, it might be a sign you are with the flow. Conversely, if you continuously encounter obstacles, stress and fatigue despite intense effort, you might be going against the flow. Use the zero state to check your compass. When you feel you are against the flow or facing a decision, take time to return to the zero state. In that stillness, ask, which path brings the greatest sense of ease and rightness at this moment? Listen to subtle urges and intuitive feelings. Observe nature. Nature is a profound teacher of flow. Spend time observing how a river winds around rocks, how a tree grows with the seasons, how clouds drift across the sky. Nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished. Practice flexibility. Let go of rigidity in your plans and expectations. Be ready to adjust your course when necessary based on new information or intuitive nudges. The universe's flow often presents unexpected detours that turn out to be even better. Pay attention to synchronicities. As you begin to align with the flow, you will notice more meaningful coincidences, timely encounters, messages appearing at just the right moment. These are signs that you are moving in the right direction. Trust in cosmic timing. Everything has its own timing. Sometimes what you need to do is prepare yourself and patiently wait for the right wave, rather than trying to create waves when the sea is calm. The zero state helps cultivate that patience and faith. Act on insights from stillness. When an idea or an urge to act arises from the quiet space of the zero state, trust it and act upon it, even if it seems small or unconventional. These are often the first steps to merging with a larger flow. Aligning with the cosmic flow isn't about abandoning your dreams or goals. It's about learning to achieve them more wisely and with less struggle. It's a shift from fighting against life to co-creating with life in a dance of trust, acceptance, and joyful discovery. Chapter 9. Sowing with Serenity. Welcoming life's surprises. In the garden of our minds, we sow the seeds of our dreams with abundant hope. We nurture them, water them, and eagerly await the day they blossom and bear fruit, precisely according to the vibrant picture we've already painted. But sometimes it is our very attachment to a specific form of the outcome that unintentionally creates invisible pressures, binding tethers that make the process of germination heavy and slow. Catherine, a landscape architect Kishan, with a burning passion, had poured her heart and soul into designing a community garden. She held an incredibly clear and detailed vision for every plant, every pathway, every little resting nook. It had to be a masterpiece, a perfect emblem of her career. Catherine's attachment to this vision was so immense that whenever a small detail didn't go exactly as planned, a specific plant being unavailable, differing feedback from the community, she would feel anxious, annoyed, and even desperate. The pressure to achieve an outcome identical to her mental blueprint cost her sleep, and her initial creative joy gradually gave way to a fear of failure. During a conversation with her spiritual mentor, someone who had often helped her find balance, Catherine confessed her struggles. The mentor listened silently, then gently posed a question. Do you love the garden, or do you love the image you've painted of the garden? That question resonated like a bell, awakening something deep within Catherine. The mentor went on to share about the zero state, not just as a place to find stillness, but as a space to practice wishing with serenity. He explained that when we sow a seed with love and care, while also trusting that the universe will provide the best conditions for it to flourish, even if the final form of the tree isn't exactly as we initially imagined, that seed will grow most strongly and naturally. Excessive attachment to a specific outcome is like constantly digging up a plant to see if its roots are growing to our liking. It only harms the plant. For Catherine, letting go of the perfect image she had painstakingly constructed in her mind was an immense challenge. Pride, the artist's ego, and the fear of being judged, if the result wasn't as she envisioned, all these pulled her back. How could one wish with serenity when the project held such profound significance? However, the exhaustion from constantly battling reality and her faith in her mentor spurred her to experiment. Catherine began dedicating time each day to returning to the zero state. In that stillness, she no longer tried to visualize the garden. Instead, she focused on the feeling of love she had for nature, for the community, for the creative process itself. She learned to accept the uncertainties, the unforeseen changes, as a natural part of life. She still worked diligently, still gave her all, but with a different mindset, one of trust and openness. Something wonderful began to unfold. As Catherine lessened her stress and eased her control, she started to listen more effectively to the community's input. Some initial suggestions had seemed to disrupt her vision, but as she truly opened herself, she realized they brought unique value, making the garden more intimate and meaningful to the very people who would enjoy it. Some plants she had planned couldn't be found, but in their place other native species were suggested, bringing an unexpected beauty and harmony with the surrounding environment. The garden gradually took shape, not entirely identical to Catherine's original drawings, but it possessed a vitality, a unique beauty, and a deeper connection. Most importantly, Catherine rediscovered the joy in her creative process. She realized that the best wasn't always what she had envisioned, but what the universe and life co-created when she dared to release her attachment. The story of Michael, a young swimmer training for the most important competition of his career, carries a similar message. He had set his sights on winning the gold medal, and the image of himself atop the highest podium, the gleaming medal around his neck, haunted him through every practice session, every night's dream. This intense attachment to the outcome created enormous pressure. Each time his training performance fell short of his expectations, he felt disappointed and self-critical. His passion for the clear blue water became overshadowed by the fear of not achieving his goal. Michael's coach, an experienced man who understood the psychology of athletes, recognized the problem. He didn't advise Michael to lower his goal, but rather to change how he held that goal. He introduced Michael to the practice of stillness, of finding the zero state before each training session and before bed, not to pray for victory, but to release the pressure to reconnect with the pure love he had for his sport and to desire victory with greater serenity. Initially, Michael found it very difficult. How could he not think about the gold medal when it was so critically important? But he persisted. In those moments of quiet, he tried to let go of the image of the medal, to release the overwhelming pressure to win. He focused on the sensation of his body gliding through the water, on the rhythm of his breath, on the pure love he had felt for swimming since he was a young boy. Gradually, a profound change took place. The pressure on Michael's shoulders lightened. He was no longer so stressed about his performance in each session. Instead, he rediscovered his joy, his focus on each stroke, each technical detail. He swam with a greater sense of freedom and grace. And remarkably, his performance began to improve steadily. On competition day, Michael approached the race with an entirely different mindset. He still yearned for victory, but he no longer had an absolute desperate attachment to it. He focused solely on performing to the best of his hard-earned ability, savoring every moment in the lane. The final result, though perhaps not exactly as he had once obsessively imagined, brought him a deep sense of satisfaction and peace, for he knew he had triumphed over himself, over his fear and his attachment. Excessive attachment to a specific outcome can create pressure and slow down the process, much like grasping a handful of sand too tightly will cause it to slip through your fingers. The zero state helps you to desire with serenity, trusting that what is best will come even if it doesn't look exactly as you initially envisioned. When you sow the seeds of your dreams from a place of peace and trust, You allow the universe space to co-create with you, bringing delightful surprises and outcomes that may even surpass your original expectations. That is the magic of releasing control and opening your heart to receive. A practice for sowing with serenity, to lessen your attachment to outcomes and learn to desire with greater peace. You can try the following steps, especially once you've become acquainted with the stillness of the zero state. Clarify your core desire instead of focusing solely on the specific form of the result. Baji, I want to get job A at company B with salary C. Ask yourself, what is the core feeling or experience I am truly seeking behind this desire? E.g., a meaningful career, financial stability, an opportunity for growth, a sense of contribution. Sow seeds from the zero state. When you are in the zero state, visualize that core desire. Feel the joy and fulfillment as if it is already a part of you. Plant that seed into the universal energy field with an open heart and a sense of gratitude. Release specific images, outcomes. After sowing your seed consciously, release your attachment to the result unfolding in one exact scenario. Tell yourself, I trust that what is best for me, or something even better, is on its way to me in the perfect way and at the perfect time. Focus on the process. Enjoy the present instead of constantly worrying about the future and the outcome. Shift your attention to the actions you can take in the present moment to move closer to your core desire. Find joy and meaning in the journey itself. Identify and release fears. Attachment often stems from fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of lack. When these fears arise, gently acknowledge them in the zero state and allow them to dissolve without judgment or resistance. Open your heart to surprises. Trust that the universe has myriad ways to bring you good things. Be open to unexpected opportunities, paths, and outcomes that you might not have even considered. Sometimes the things that weren't in the plan turn out to be the most wonderful gifts. Practice gratitude. Regardless of the outcome, always find things to be grateful for along your journey. Gratitude helps you maintain a high vibrational frequency and expands your capacity to receive even more good. When you learn to sow the seeds of your dreams with a serene heart and an open mind, you not only free yourself from unnecessary pressure, but also create the conditions for life's miracles to manifest. Trust in the wondrous orchestration of the universe and be ready to welcome the sweet surprises on your journey. Chapter 10. New Beginnings from the Pristine Zero Point. Our journey through the years is like a canvas painted with myriad brushstrokes of experiences, thoughts, and emotions. Sometimes old colors and past strokes, whether accidental or intentional, accumulate upon each other, creating a thick layer that makes the present picture feel heavy, lacking clarity and vitality. Michael, a writer whose works were once beloved, suddenly found himself depleted of ideas. He felt as if his mind were an old, dusty attic, filled with unfinished manuscripts, haunting critiques, the expectations of others, and his own disappointments. Whenever he tried to start something new, these ghosts of the past would resurface, dragging his energy down, leaving him feeling stuck and exhausted. He yearned for a fresh start, a breath of pure air, but didn't know how to shed the layers of time that were obscuring his soul. While rereading the old notes of a philosopher, he admired Michael's attention was caught by a passage about the power of active emptiness, the ability to return to a primordial point where all preconceptions and past imprints are temporarily set aside. The philosopher likened it to this: returning to zero is like hitting the reset button for the soul. It allows you to release old energies and ineffective thought patterns and to start again from a purer, more pristine, energetic point of attraction. This idea initially seemed simple, perhaps too simple for a complex thinker like Michael. How could doing nothing or returning to zero possibly cleanse energies that had accumulated over so many years. Could it be as easy as pressing a button? Initial skepticism was inevitable. However, the growing sense of heaviness and stagnation spurred him to experiment. Michael began dedicating time each day to practicing the zero state, not with the immediate goal of writing a great masterpiece, but simply to allow his mind to be cleansed. He visualized himself stepping into a vast, silent space where old thoughts and heavy emotions like dark clouds slowly dissipated, leaving behind a clear sky. He didn't try to resist or analyze them. He simply observed and allowed them to pass. In the early days, this resetting was not easy. Old thought habits and obsessions tried to maintain their hold, but Michael persisted. Gradually, he began to feel subtle changes. After each practice session, he felt lighter, as if an invisible burden had just been lifted. New ideas, though still small and vague, began to seep into his mind, not from forced effort, but from the very quiet space he had just created. He realized that the zero state didn't just bring temporary peace. It was genuinely purifying and regenerating his energy field. Negative thought patterns and stagnant emotions seemed to lose their power. He felt like a computer that had been restarted, running more smoothly and efficiently, ready to receive new programs. His point of attraction seemed to have been recalibrated to a clearer, more positive frequency. The story of Olivia, a woman who had recently gone through a painful breakup, also illustrates the power of regenerating energy from point zero. She felt trapped in the emotions of her past: regret, sadness, anger. These feelings were like a heavy cloak she wore every day, preventing her from opening her heart to new joys or new relationships. She felt as if she were still emitting signals of hurt, and consequently only attracting situations that reminded her of her old pain. A close friend introduced Olivia to the zero state as a method for healing and resetting her energetic starting point. Her friend explained that when we return to the pure state of point zero, we temporarily detach ourselves from the stories and emotions of the past, allowing blocked energies to be released. From there, we can begin again with an energetic blank slate, attracting newer, more positive experiences. Olivia began her practice. She sat quietly, allowing her painful emotions to surface without judgment. She visualized herself gently setting down these emotional burdens, letting them dissolve into the silent space of the zero state. It wasn't an easy process. Tears were shed, but after each session she felt a profound sense of lightness and release. Gradually, Olivia noticed that the painful memories no longer haunted her with the same intensity. She still remembered her past, but she was no longer bound by it. She felt a new, fresh energy from within. She started to explore new interests and meet new friends, and miraculously, the people and opportunities that came to her during this period all carried a positive, supportive energy, resonating with the new person she was becoming, rather than repeating old patterns. Olivia understood that by bravely returning to point zero, she had truly allowed herself to regenerate, resetting her point of attraction from a place of peace and wholeness. Returning to zero is like hitting a reset button. It doesn't erase the valuable lessons from the past, but it liberates us from the burden of old energies and thought patterns that are no longer effective. Like clearing a field before planting a new crop, the zero state creates a pristine, energetic space, a pure starting point from which we can attract experiences, relationships, and opportunities that reflect our current growth and aspirations, not a repetition of the past. A practice for a fresh start from the pure zero point. To use the zero state as a tool for regenerating your energy and resetting your point of attraction, try these steps. Identify energies to release. Before you begin, take a moment to identify any old energies, thought patterns, or emotions that you feel are holding you back or no longer serving your growth. These might include fear, self-doubt, sad memories, or limiting beliefs. Enter the zero space with the intention to reset. As you practice your zero state meditation, bring with you the gentle intention that you wish to release these old energies and regenerate your energy field. Visualize the purification process. In the stillness, you can visualize a cascade of pure white light washing through every cell, every corner of your body, and energy field carrying away all that is heavy and old, gently removing old cloaks, symbolizing old energies and patterns, revealing your true radiant self within. Standing before a crystal clear lake and stepping into it, allowing the pure water to cleanse and completely renew you. Affirm your renewal. After feeling a sense of release, gently affirm your renewal. You might silently say, I release all that no longer serves me. I am starting anew from a fresh and pure energy point. I am ready to welcome new and wonderful things. Feel the new energy. Spend a few minutes sensing the lightness, freshness, and clarity in your energy field. Feel the infinite potential opening up before you from this new starting point. Act from the new energy. As you return to your daily life, strive to maintain this feeling of freshness. Make choices and take actions that reflect the new person you wish to become, operating from this cleansed and uplifted energetic point. Remember, resetting your energy isn't a one-time event. Just as daily bathing keeps the body clean regularly, returning to the zero state with the intention of purification and renewal will help you maintain a clear, strong energy field, always ready to attract the very best that life has to offer. Every day can be a new beginning from the pristine 0 point. Part 2. Returning to the Zero State. Chapter 11. Zero State Meditation, the Source of Infinite Potential. The practice of meditation can focus on achieving a state of nothingness. No thoughts, no worries, no expectations. This is a pure state where you can easily connect with infinite potential and sow the seeds for new desires unhindered by old beliefs. The stage spotlight had once been Daniel's lifeblood. As a stage actor, he agonized over every role, every line, every gesture, striving to touch the hearts of his audience. But after years of dedication, the fire of passion within him seemed to be dimming. Rehearsals became burdensome, his mind filled with anxieties about whether his next role would be a success, whether audiences would still embrace him. He longed for a breakthrough, a fresh source of inspiration, but his efforts only seemed to pull him deeper into a tangled web of expectations and self-imposed pressure. One day in a quiet little bookstore, Daniel stumbled upon a slender volume about the zero state. He had vaguely heard about meditation and mental calm, but the concept of nothingness, no thoughts, no worries, no expectations truly made him pause. How can there be nothing? He wondered. For someone whose profession demanded character analysis and a deep understanding of emotions, the idea of no thought seemed almost absurd. Yet there was a strange allure to the words, describing it as a pure state, a place to connect with infinite potential. Curiosity mingled with initial skepticism spurred Daniel to try. He began to practice. The first meditation sessions were a genuine struggle. His mind, like a stage whose lights never dimmed, constantly replayed old roles, unfinished lines, and worries about the future. He tried to dismiss them, but they only seemed to grow stronger. Thoughts like, I'm wasting my time, or this is meaningless, persistently intruded. But Daniel remembered the phrase pure state. He told himself that perhaps he was trying too hard. Instead of fighting his thoughts, he tried a different approach, simply observing them like a silent audience member in an empty theater, letting them come and go without clinging to them, without judgment. He focused on his breath, on the fragile stillness that lay between the streams of thought. Then one morning, it happened. It wasn't a spectacular event, but a gentle internal shift. Amidst his efforts to let go, Daniel suddenly experienced a moment of true nothingness. There were no roles, no anxieties about that evening's performance, not even any expectations of himself. There was only a vast stillness, a transparent space utterly cloudless. It wasn't a frightening emptiness, but an extraordinary peace, a feeling of having returned home after a long, exhausting journey. In that brief yet profound moment, Daniel felt a strange connection, as if he were touching a source of pure energy, an unformed, infinite potential. He understood then that nothingness didn't mean absence, but rather the presence of everything in its latent form. It was the fertile ground where the most creative seeds could be sown unhindered by the rocky soil of old beliefs or self-imposed limitations. From that day forward, the zero state became an indispensable part of Daniel's life. Before tackling each new role, he no longer dove into tense analysis. Instead, he sought that space of nothingness to cleanse his mind, to connect with his inner purity. And remarkably, new ideas, profound and unique interpretations of his roles began to flow naturally. He was no longer acting with mere technique, but with the vibration of his soul, a soul that had been touched by stillness and infinite potential. Audiences sensed the difference. They saw a deeper, more authentic Daniel on stage. The story of Amelia, a young scientist facing a deadlock in her research, carries a similar message. She had spent years pursuing a hypothesis, but every path seemed to lead to a dead end. Her mind was saturated with data analyses and the fervent expectation of a breakthrough discovery. But the harder she tried, the more pressure she felt, and her inspiration dwindled. An older colleague, renowned for his creative insights and ability to view problems from unique angles, shared with Amelia the practice of the zero state. He said, "Sometimes to find a new path, we need to temporarily step off the familiar trails of our thinking. The state of nothingness, no thoughts, no worries, no expectations, is precisely how we create an opening for unexpected ideas to arise." Amelia, who typically relied on logic and data, initially found this hard to accept. How could not thinking possibly aid scientific research? But her persistent deadlock and her trust in her colleague convinced her to give it a try. She began to practice consciously, trying to release her hypotheses, data, and expectations about the outcome. She focused simply on stillness, on being nothing. In those moments of quietude, when her mind was no longer dominated by old thought patterns, an unexpected idea flashed. It was an entirely different approach, a way of connecting her data that she had never considered before. It came gently, naturally, like a gift from the stillness. Amelia returned to her lab with renewed energy. This new direction opened up surprising results, propelling her research to a promising new stage. She realized that it was precisely when she dared to let go of everything, to return to a state of nothingness, that she had tapped into an infinite source of wisdom and creative potential where solutions were not confined by what was already known. The zero state is not an escape from reality, but a return to the deepest essence of creativity and potential. It is the soul's ground restored to its pristine condition, where the weeds of limiting beliefs and the footprints of old experiences no longer hold sway. From there, any seed of desire that is sown has the opportunity to sprout vigorously and purely undistorted by old lenses. It is a reminder that sometimes to move forward, we need to learn to pause, to return to point zero, where all possibilities await their awakening. A practice for returning to the pure zero point. The journey to the zero state is a personal experience, an exploration that requires patience and gentleness with oneself. Here are a few suggested steps to help you begin to touch this nothingness, teeming with potential. Choose a peaceful space. Find a place where you feel truly quiet and where you can sit comfortably without being disturbed for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Relaxed posture. Sit with your back naturally straight without stiffness. Let your shoulders relax. Your hands can rest gently on your lap or in your palms. Gently close your eyes. Breath as an anchor. Bring your attention to your breath. Feel the sensation of air entering and leaving through your nostrils. Don't try to control your breath. Simply observe it naturally. Your breath is the anchor that brings you back to the present moment. Allow nothingness. Your aim is to move towards a state of nothingness. No thoughts, no worries, no expectations. When thoughts, emotions, or images arise, and they undoubtedly will, don't try to chase them away or analyze them. Imagine them as light clouds drifting across the sky of your mind. Gently acknowledge their presence, and then return your attention to your breath, to the feeling of nothingness. Release effort. Don't try to make the state of nothingness happen. Striving itself is a form of thought and expectation. Practice with an attitude of letting go, of acceptance. Whether your mind is still or remains active, continue to observe without judgment. Start short, maintain consistency. Even 5 minutes of practice each day can bring benefits. Consistency is more important than the length of each session. Gradually, as you feel more comfortable, you can increase the duration. Trust in purity. Believe that the zero state is always present within you, like a layer of crystal clear water lying deep at the bottom of a lake. Your task isn't to create it, but to allow the sediment, thoughts, worries, expectations to slowly settle so that this inherent purity can be revealed. Remember, each time you practice, you are taking a step closer to mastering this art of stillness. And from that space of nothingness, you will discover a source of creative energy, a profound connection with infinite potential, and the ability to sow the seeds of your dreams with the utmost freedom and completeness. Chapter 12. Inscribing your deepest desires from the pure zero point. The journey of creating our lives often begins with identifying the goals and destinations our hearts yearn for. However, we frequently and often unknowingly carry the heavy baggage of the past into this sacred process, the imprints of past failures, self-imposed limitations, or even old successes that have unintentionally confined our vision. David, a dedicated educator who had achieved considerable success in reforming traditional teaching methods, now found himself hesitant when contemplating his next steps. Whenever he tried to outline a new goal, his mind would automatically censor it based on what he had already done, what was considered realistic or feasible according to his past experiences. He sensed a vague inner calling, a yearning to create even greater changes. But these ideas seemed too far-fetched, too different from the path he had already trodden, leaving him afraid to voice them or even write them down. During a weekend retreat, the facilitator shared a unique method called zero-based goal setting. Before you set any new goals, the facilitator explained, take the time to return to the zero state. Imagine you are standing at an absolute starting point, a place with no past, no failures holding you back, and no successes binding you. From this clean, pristine starting point, allow yourself to write down what you truly desire, the most authentic dreams of your soul, uninfluenced by what you think is possible or impossible. This idea initially left David feeling somewhat perplexed. How could one ignore valuable experiences, the lessons learned from both successes and failures? Isn't goal setting supposed to be grounded in that very practical foundation? Dreaming from a zero point sounded almost irresponsible, perhaps even fanciful, but the image of a clean starting point lingered in his mind. He recalled the sense of freedom, of unlimited possibility he felt when he first embarked on his career, before the layers of experience and reality had settled in. He decided to try it as an experiment for himself. David found a quiet space, practiced meditation to bring his mind to the zero state where all thoughts and preconceptions temporarily subsided. He breathed deeply, visualizing himself standing in a vast expanse with nothing around him but pure potential. From that space of stillness and emptiness, he asked himself, if there were no constraints, if all limitations vanished, what does my heart truly desire for the cause of education for future generations? And then the words began to flow. Not detailed plans, not carefully measured objectives, but grand aspirations, dreams of an enlightening education where every child could fully develop their unique potential. These were ideas he had never dared to acknowledge before because they had seemed too idealistic, too difficult. When he finished, David looked back at what he had written. A sense of relief and an unprecedented surge of inspiring energy coursed through him. These goals were no longer weighed down by the questions of how or is it even possible. They were simply what his heart truly voiced when freed from all constraints. He understood that this wasn't about denying the past, but about not allowing the past to limit the future. From that 0 point, he had rediscovered his soul's true compass. The story of Clara, a young woman who had experienced multiple failures in her entrepreneurial ventures, also serves as a testament to the power of setting goals from point zero. Her previous setbacks had become deeply ingrained in her mind, creating a limiting belief that she wasn't capable, that her ideas were impractical. Whenever she tried to think about a new project, fear and her self-critical voice would surge, causing her goals to become small, timid, and lacking any real breakthrough potential. A close friend, seeing Clara progressively lose her confidence, shared the zero-based goal-setting method with her. "Just try it once," her friend urged. "Allow yourself to dream as if you've never failed, as if you possess all the resources and abilities imaginable. Write down what your heart truly tells you from a place unmarked by the past." Clara, though still harboring many doubts, felt she had nothing left to lose. She sought the zero state, trying to set aside the memories of her stumbles and the negative remarks she had internalized. She imagined herself as a pristine blank page, and then she allowed her most secret aspirations, the bold ideas she had long buried due to fear, to flow freely onto the paper. She wrote about a community project she had always dreamed of, a project that would bring real value to society, something she had previously dismissed as too far out of reach. The act of writing down these goals from point zero brought Clara an intense feeling of liberation. These aspirations were no longer tainted by fear or self-doubt. They were clear, powerful, and deeply inspiring. Although the road ahead would still present challenges, this time Clara felt a new surge of motivation, a renewed belief in herself, because these goals originated from the deepest, purest place in her heart, unconstrained by the ghosts of her past. Zero-based goal setting is like an artist being given a completely new canvas instead of trying to paint over an old, faded one. Past failures can create limiting beliefs, scars that make us hesitant to reach further. Even past successes can become gilded cages, trapping us within a narrow definition of ourselves and what we should do. This method helps us transcend all of that to connect directly with the most authentic desires of our soul, with the infinite untapped potential within. It's about allowing ourselves to dream our biggest dreams from a starting point of complete freedom and non-judgment. A practice for inscribing your desires from point zero. To experience the power of setting goals from a space of purity, you can practice the following steps. Return to the zero state. Dedicate time to meditation, guiding your mind into the zero state. Allow all thoughts, worries, and even memories of past successes or failures to gradually subside. Visualize a clean starting point. Once your mind is still, imagine you are standing at point zero, a space of infinite potential where there is no past, no constraints, no limitations whatsoever. You are a blank page, a pure seed. Listen to your heart's voice. From this vast, free space, gently ask yourself, if there were no barriers, if anything were possible, what does my heart truly desire? What is my deepest, most authentic dream? Write freely without judgment. Have a pen and paper ready. As answers, images, and feelings begin to emerge, write them down freely. Don't worry about whether they are realistic or feasible. Don't self-censor or judge. Simply allow these aspirations to flow. Contemplate your goals from point zero. After you've finished writing, take some time to read over what you've written. Feel the energy of these goals. Do they bring you a sense of excitement, expansion, and rightness? Compare them to goals you might have set when your state was more influenced by past experiences. Cherish these pure aspirations. Treasure these zero-based goals. They are precious messages from the deepest part of who you are. Even if the path to achieving them isn't yet clear, identifying and acknowledging these desires is a significant step forward. Remember, writing your goals from the pure zero point is a powerfully liberating and empowering act. It allows you to rise above self-imposed limitations and connect with the boundless possibilities awaiting you. From this clean starting point, you can begin to create a future based not just on what has been, but on what your heart truly desires and what the universe is ready to support. Chapter 13. Releasing to zero, placing your trust in the universe. The journey of pursuing our dreams, no matter how purely their seeds were sown, is not always immune to ripples in the mind. Sudden worries, creeping doubts, or the inherent instinct to control every aspect of the manifestation process can surge unintentionally, creating energetic walls that obstruct the natural flow of creation. It is at such times that we need a practical method to return to center, a way to release resistance and reestablish faith. The practice of releasing to zero. After experiencing the wonderful liberation of writing her zero-based goals, Olivia felt a surge of new energy and inspiration. The grand aspirations she once dared not even consider were now clearly defined, giving her a distinct sense of purpose. However, as she began to take action, old habits started to creep back in. How will I achieve this? Do I have enough resources? What happens if I fail again? These questions were like chilling winds fanning the flames of anxiety within her. She started to obsessively check her progress, trying to calculate and control every small step, and soon the familiar feelings of heaviness and tension returned, as if her initial inspiration was being suffocated by her own efforts to control. During a conversation with her guide, Olivia shared this ironic predicament. I set these wonderful goals from point zero, but now I feel like I'm sabotaging everything with my own worry and attempts to control. Her guide smiled with gentle compassion. Olivia, that is a very human experience, but you also possess a powerful tool to overcome it. When you feel anxious, doubtful, or find yourself trying to control the manifestation process, practice releasing to zero. Visualize yourself letting go of all those emotions and thoughts to zero. Release the resistance and trust that the universe will handle the rest. The idea of releasing to zero amidst an inner turmoil sounded challenging. How could one simply let go when instinct was screaming to do something, to take control? The fear that if she relinquished her grip, everything would fall apart was a significant barrier. But Olivia was exhausted from constantly battling herself. One afternoon, when her anxiety reached a peak, she decided to try. She sat down, closed her eyes, and took several deep breaths. She visualized the worries, the doubts, and the urge to control swirling within her mind like a dense, dark cloud. Then, with clear intention, she imagined herself gently gathering that cloud, and then slowly, tenderly releasing it into the vast, silent, empty space of the zero state. She watched as the cloud dissipated, merging into the infinite stillness, leaving no trace behind. An unexpected sense of lightness spread throughout her body. The obsessive thoughts seemed to lose their power. The tension in her shoulders and chest eased. She wasn't trying to banish her emotions, but rather to acknowledge them and then consciously choose to entrust them to point zero. Olivia repeated this practice whenever waves of anxiety or the urge to control arose. Gradually, she learned to recognize the early signs of resistance and promptly release to zero. The remarkable thing was, when she truly let go and trusted, unexpected solutions began to appear. Timely phone calls, unforeseen opportunities, people willing to help. It was as if the universe had just been waiting for her to clear the path for the flow to resume. The story of Mark, an inventor working on a complex technological project, also illustrates the power of releasing to zero. He had encountered a major technical hurdle, and all his efforts to find a solution seemed hopeless. Disappointment and time pressure led him to try even harder to control every variable, frantically testing every possibility, but this only left him more confused and stuck. In a moment of near exhaustion, Mark recalled a talk on the zero state he had once attended. He remembered the speaker mentioning releasing resistance by bringing negative energies to point zero. Though not entirely convinced, he felt he had no other option. He paused all his work, found a quiet corner, and attempted the practice. He visualized his deadlock, his disappointment, his stress as a giant tangled knot. Then he imagined himself gently loosening each strand, allowing the knot to unravel and dissolve into the silent space of zero. When Mark opened his eyes, the technical problem was still there, but something within him had shifted. The tension had eased. His mind felt clearer. He looked at the problem with a new perspective, and a surprising idea, an approach he had never considered before, suddenly flashed into his awareness. He realized that his own attempts at control and his fear had been obscuring his natural creativity. When he released to zero, he had inadvertently created the space for new solutions to be revealed. Releasing to zero is not about ignoring or evading problems. It is an active and powerful act of energy transformation. It's like opening your hand when you're clutching a burning coal. You free yourself from the pain and create space to receive something better. When you feel anxious, doubtful, or find yourself trying to control the process, it's a sign that you are creating resistance. By visualizing yourself releasing all those emotions and thoughts to zero, you are loosening the ego's grip. You are sending a message of trust in the wisdom and orchestration of the universe. And when you do that, you will be surprised to see how the universe responds in wonderful ways, taking care of the rest in perfect order. A practice for releasing to zero and embracing trust. When you feel the ripples of worry, doubt, or the urge to control rising within you, try practicing these steps to return to peace and trust. Recognize and accept. The first step is to become aware of the presence of these emotions or thoughts. Don't try to suppress or judge them. Gently tell yourself, I am feeling anxious, doubtful, wanting to control, and that's okay. Pause and breathe. Temporarily stop whatever you are doing. Take a deep breath in, hold it for a few seconds, and then slowly exhale, feeling the tension begin to ease. Repeat this several times. Connect with the zero state. Close your eyes if possible and bring to mind your sense of the zero state, a vast, silent, empty space yet full of potential and peace. Gather and release. Imagine yourself gently gathering these anxious emotions, doubtful thoughts, or controlling urges into an energy bundle in your mind or in the palm of your hand. Release to zero. With clear intention and a trusting heart, visualize yourself slowly and gently releasing that energy bundle into the infinite space of the zero state. Watch it dissipate, merge, or be completely neutralized in that stillness, leaving no trace. Affirm your trust. After you have released, affirm your trust in the universe. You can say silently or aloud, I release these things to zero. I trust the flow of life. I believe everything is unfolding in the best way for me. The universe always supports me. Feel the lightness. Spend a few moments sensing the lightness, peace, and spaciousness that has just been created within you. Carry this feeling with you as you return to your activities. Practice releasing to zero regularly as a way to keep your energy flowing clearly and harmoniously. Each time you choose to release resistance and place your trust in the universe, you are opening the door wider for miracles and support to find their way to you with greater ease. Chapter 14. The Miraculous Zero Springboard for All New Beginnings. Life is a series of beginnings. Each new dawn, every nascent project, each decision to change a habit or step into a new phase, all hold the opportunity for us to write a fresh chapter in our own story. Yet we often carry the shadows of yesterday past, successes creating expectations, old failures, sowing doubt, preventing the page of the present from being truly pristine. It is at such times that we need a symbol, a potent reminder of our endless capacity for regeneration, the zero. Sophia, a talented graphic designer, was facing a major turning point. After many years working for a prestigious company, she decided to leave and establish her own studio. The exhilaration of freedom and boundless creative opportunity mingled with vague anxieties. Could she manage it all? Would her experience from the old company still be relevant? There was an urge to replicate what had previously been successful, yet simultaneously she craved something entirely new, a truly personal mark. She could feel the weight of her past, even her achievements, invisibly shaping her first steps on this new path. During a conversation with her mentor, an older artist with a free-spirited mindset, Sophia shared her concerns. The mentor listened, then smiled and pointed to a calligraphy piece hanging on the wall. It featured the character Kong, zero or zero, written in an ancient style, round, full, and serene. Whenever you start something new, the artist said, look at this zero. It is not just emptiness. It is infinite potential. It is a reminder that this is a blank page, an opportunity for you to create whatever you truly desire, unbound by what has passed, whether good or bad. The idea of using zero as a symbol for new beginnings resonated deeply with Sophia. She recalled her zero-state meditation sessions, where her mind would become still, liberated from the layers of thought and preconception. She realized she could actively bring that pristine energy into each of her new endeavors. From then on, each morning before starting work at her new studio, Sophia would spend a few minutes sitting quietly, visualizing zero. She imagined herself standing in a vast space, an absolute starting point. She let go of expectations based on past successes and released vague fears of failure. She would tell herself, this is zero, this is a blank page, anything is possible. This small ritual made a profound difference. Sophia felt freer in her decision-making, more creative in every design. She no longer tried to recreate what she had done before, but boldly experimented with daring ideas and fresh styles. Her studio gradually developed its own unique identity, not as a shadow of her past, but as a true reflection of who she was in the present, a person daring to begin from zero. The story of Ethan, a man striving to rebuild a healthy lifestyle after years of neglecting his health, also illustrates the power of viewing zero as a reminder. He had tried dieting and exercising many times, only to give up midway. Each failure reinforced the negative belief that he lacked willpower, that he would never be able to change. Whenever he embarked on a new eating plan or workout schedule, the shadow of his previous lapses would return, whispering words of doubt. One day, while attending a support group, Ethan heard someone share about resetting each day. The speaker said, don't carry the burden of yesterday into today. Every morning when you wake up, consider it day zero for your goal. Even if you stumbled yesterday, today is a completely new opportunity, a blank page. Ethan began to apply this. Each morning he wouldn't dwell on what he had eaten the day before or whether he had missed a workout. He focused solely on the present, viewing it as a fresh start from zero. If he happened to eat something unhealthy, instead of becoming disheartened and giving up entirely, he would tell himself, it's okay. The next meal, the next moment will be a new point zero. This approach completely transformed Ethan's internal battle. He no longer felt weighed down by small failures. Self-blame diminished, replaced by persistence and self-compassion. Gradually, healthy choices became a natural part of his life, not because he was perfect, but because he allowed himself to begin again from zero, time after time. Zero, with its round, complete, and whole form, is a powerful symbol for new beginnings. It is the void before all things are formed, the pure potential before an idea takes shape. Whenever you start a new project, a new habit, or step into a new phase of life, consciously invoke zero as a sacred reminder. It is an invitation to temporarily set aside the stories of the past, old identities, and self-imposed limitations. It is an opportunity to stand before a blank page with an open heart and an unfettered mind, ready to inscribe whatever you truly desire, whatever version of yourself you wish to become. A practice for originating from the miraculous zero to transform every beginning into a truly fresh and potential-filled opportunity. You can practice this simple ritual. Identify your new beginning. This could be the start of a new day, a new work week, a creative project, a relationship, a habit you wish to form, or any significant change in your life. Create a zero moment before you actually begin the action. Take a few quiet minutes for yourself. You can sit comfortably and close your eyes. Connect with the energy of zero. Take a few deep breaths. Gently bring your mind to the zero state, or simply recall its feeling of stillness, peace, and infinite potential. Visualize the symbol of zero. Clearly visualize the number zero in your mind. See it as a perfect circle, an empty space that contains everything, a gateway to all possibilities. Affirm the new beginning. While holding the image of zero, silently affirm to yourself, "This is point zero. This is a new beginning. All imprints of the past are released. I am standing before a blank page, and I have full creative power. I step into this journey with fresh energy, an open heart, and faith in infinite potential." Carry this intention. As you begin your action, carry this intention and the feeling of this new start with you. If during the process, old habits or limiting thoughts from the past try to intrude, gently return to the image of zero as a way to reset and remind yourself of the blank page you are working with. Regard zero not just as a number, but as a companion, a symbol of rebirth and endless capability. Every moment can be a point zero, an opportunity for you to leave behind what is no longer necessary and boldly write the most wonderful chapters of your life from a space of complete purity and freedom. Chapter 15. Purifying your space. Inviting a flow of new energy. Our living and working spaces are more than just inanimate walls or mere objects. They are a reflection of our inner world, a place where our energy resides and interacts. A cluttered, cramped environment can unwittingly create stagnation, holding back the flow of inspiration and freshness. Conversely, actively clearing our physical space to create an empty, airy environment is a profoundly symbolic act. It is an act of clearing our own mental space, readying ourselves to welcome new and positive things. Catherine, a freelance writer, felt herself sinking into a mire of procrastination and lack of focus. Her small apartment, which also served as her workspace, had become overloaded with towering piles of books, old manuscripts, meaningless souvenirs, and even broken items she hadn't found the time to fix or discard. Whenever she sat down at her desk, her gaze would inadvertently get caught in the surrounding chaos, and her mind would become equally jumbled. Ideas seemed unable to find their way in, and a persistent feeling of heaviness and suffocation clung to her. One afternoon, while browsing the internet for solutions to her creative block, Catherine stumbled upon an article about zero space decluttering, the art of clearing physical space to create a point zero, thereby unblocking the flow of energy and creativity. The article suggested that freeing our living spaces from unnecessary items is not merely about tidying up. It's a way to release old energies and mental stagnation, creating the conditions for new and positive influences to enter. This idea initially felt a bit overwhelming to Catherine. Looking around her apartment, she didn't know where to begin. Each item seemed tied to a memory, a reason to be kept. The fear of confronting the clutter, coupled with a touch of inherent laziness, made her want to put it off. But the image of an empty, airy space where her mind could freely soar kept beckoning her. She decided to start with the smallest corner, her desk. She cleared away unnecessary stacks of paper, reorganized her books, and threw out pens that had run dry. Simply cleaning her desk brought an unexpected sense of relief. Catherine felt a subtle shift in her mood, a flicker of returning enthusiasm. She continued with other areas slowly, bit by bit. With each item she decided to let go of, she consciously acknowledged that she wasn't just decluttering her physical space, but also releasing a piece of old, stagnant energy from her mind. She visualized herself creating a zero state for her home, a pure and receptive haven ready to welcome newness. The process took several weeks, but the results were truly astonishing. Catherine's apartment became significantly tidier, brighter, and more spacious. More importantly, however, was the change that occurred within her. Her mind became clearer, her concentration markedly improved. New ideas began to flow naturally. She felt light, peaceful, and full of energy every time she entered her living space. Her home was no longer just a place to live. It had become a source of inspiration, a supportive environment for her creativity and personal growth. Catherine realized that decluttering her physical space was a profound act of love and care for her own mental and spiritual well-being. The story of Robert, a man recently retired and searching for new meaning in the next chapter of his life, also illustrates the intimate connection between our external space and internal transformation. His house was filled with mementos from his working years, items belonging to his children from when they were young, and collections that no longer resonated with his current life. Although he cherished these memories, Robert felt as though he were living in a museum of the past, making it difficult for him to envision a new and different future. After attending a talk on life renewal, Robert was inspired by the idea of creating space for new things. He decided to begin with his own home. He spent time carefully considering each item, asking himself if it still brought him joy, if it served his current and future life. It was an emotional process. At times he felt a pang of regret when parting with cherished keepsakes, but with each item he gave away, donated, or consciously put into storage, Robert felt an invisible burden lift. He wasn't just cleaning his house, he was also clearing away attachments to the past, old identities that no longer fit. His home gradually became more open and airy, reflecting a simpler way of living focused on what truly mattered to him in the present. And along with the transformation of his physical space, Robert felt a new sense of freedom in his mind. He began to explore new hobbies, participate in community activities, and felt energized to write a meaningful new chapter for his life. Creating a zero space into his home had paved the way for a zero beginning in his very soul. Our homes and workplaces are energetic spaces. They can support and nurture us, or conversely, they can hold us back and create stagnation. The act of clearing our physical environment to create an empty, airy atmosphere is more than just ordinary tidying. It is a symbolic gesture, a way for us to communicate to the universe that we are ready to release what is old, what is no longer necessary, in order to open ourselves to new flows of energy, new opportunities, and more positive experiences. When the space around us becomes pure and open, our minds also find peace and clarity, ready for the seeds of the zero state to flourish powerfully. A practice for purifying space and sourcing new energy to transform your living and working spaces into sources of positive support for your personal growth journey. Try applying these steps. Set the intention for zero space. Before you begin, clearly define your intention. You are not just tidying up for neatness' sake. You are consciously creating a zero space, a physically and energetically pure environment, ready to receive good things. Start with a small area. Don't try to declutter everything at once, as this can be overwhelming. Choose a small, manageable area to begin with, such as a single drawer, a bookshelf, or a corner of a room. Connect with your feelings. As you pick up each item, ask yourself, how does this object make me feel? Is it truly necessary, useful, Or does it bring joy to my current life? Or is it merely anchoring me to the past? The 3 boxes rule. Prepare 3 containers, boxes or baskets. 1 for items to keep, 1 for items to give away, sell, recycle, and 1 for some things that are no longer usable and need to be discarded. Be decisive and honest with yourself during this process. Release with gratitude for the items you decide to let go of. Take a moment to thank them for the service they provided in the past. Releasing them with gratitude can make the process feel lighter and more positive. Create real empty space. The goal is not just to reorganize your belongings, but to create genuinely open, empty spaces. Don't be afraid to leave surfaces clear and walls uncrowded. This emptiness is precisely the space where new energy can circulate. Cleanse and purify energy. After you've decluttered the items, thoroughly clean the physical space. You can also use energy purification methods, such as burning sage or incense, diffusing essential oils, or simply opening windows wide to welcome in fresh air and sunlight. Appreciate your new space. Once you've finished, take time to truly enjoy your newly cleared space. Notice the sense of lightness, openness, and the fresh energy it brings. Acknowledge that this space is now ready to support you in attracting positive experiences. Consider the act of decluttering your physical space as a form of dynamic meditation, a way to connect more deeply with yourself and your environment. When you create a zero space in your home, you are also crafting a peaceful sanctuary for your soul, a place where the seeds of creativity, joy, and abundance can continuously sprout and grow. Chapter 16. Gratitude from Point Zero, the source of abundance. Gratitude is one of the master keys that unlocks the door to abundance and profound joy. Yet we often wait until we acquire great things or achieve dazzling successes before we allow ourselves to feel thankful. There is a more powerful way to practice gratitude, one that helps us cultivate the vibrational frequency of abundance even before our grandest desires take shape. It is the practice of gratitude from Point Zero, cherishing the smallest things as if we were starting from absolute scratch. Sarah was a young artist struggling to make a name for herself. She yearned for recognition, for her work to be displayed in prestigious galleries and to live a stable life fueled by her passion. However, reality seemed far removed from these dreams. Rejections, financial difficulties, and a pervasive sense of uncertainty about her future often left her feeling deficient and disheartened. She focused on what she didn't have, and that longing sometimes morphed into impatience, comparison, and a heavy feeling that life was unfair. She believed that only when she achieved success could she truly feel grateful. During a small gathering focused on mindful living, Sarah encountered an unfamiliar idea. Practice gratitude as if you are at Point Zero. Imagine you have absolutely nothing, and from that standpoint, look at your current life and cherish every tiny thing you possess. This is how you recognize your true wealth, right here, right now. This notion initially felt a bit forced to Sarah. Be grateful for what when I'm struggling like this, she thought. How could she feel abundant when her greatest dreams still seemed so distant? But something in the sincerity of the speaker resonated with her. She decided to try. Each morning before starting her work, Sarah would spend a few minutes quieting her mind, attempting to bring herself to an imagined Point Zero, a state of having nothing, of complete emptiness. Then, from that vantage point, she would begin to look around her, the early morning sunlight streaming through her window, the sound of birdsong outside her porch, a warm cup of tea on her table, the ability to see colors, to hear sounds, to feel the softness of her blanket. She started to list these things she had previously taken for granted. Gradually, a warm and genuine feeling of gratitude began to blossom within her. It wasn't a showy gratitude for grand achievements, but a deep appreciation for the simple gifts of life that she already possessed, even when starting from zero. She realized that although she didn't yet have her dream gallery exhibition, she still had her creativity hands to paint with and a sensitive soul to perceive beauty. Though she didn't have much money, she had a roof over her head, food to eat, and friends who checked in on her from time to time. This shift in perception brought about a significant transformation in Sarah's energy. The feelings of lack and impatience were gradually replaced by an inner peace and a sense of fullness. She no longer focused so intensely on what she didn't have, but learned to treasure what she did. And remarkably, as her vibrational frequency changed, as she began to radiate the energy of abundance and gratitude, new opportunities started to find their way to her more naturally unexpected encounters. Small collaboration offers positive feedback on her artwork. Sarah understood that gratitude from point zero not only helped her find joy in the present, but was also creating a powerful vibrational frequency attracting more good things into her life. The story of James, a successful entrepreneur who seemingly had almost everything. Many people dream of a solid career, a happy family, a beautiful home, reveals another facet of practicing gratitude from point zero. Despite his many achievements, James sometimes felt a vague emptiness, a relentless urge to achieve even more, as if what he currently possessed still wasn't enough. He rarely paused to truly savor and be grateful for all that he had built. In a personal development course, James was introduced to a method of practicing gratitude by returning to zero. The facilitator explained that even when we have many things, occasionally viewing life as if we have just been bestowed with all these blessings for the very first time can help reawaken a profound sense of appreciation and happiness. James began the practice. Each night before going to sleep, he wouldn't just think about his next set of goals. He would take time to imagine himself at point zero and from there receive again each blessing in his life. His good health, his loving wife, his well-behaved children, his cozy home, the work he was passionate about, his trustworthy friends. As he viewed these things as new, unexpected gifts, a deep and sincere gratitude welled up within him, a feeling that the daily hustle had caused him to forget. This practice didn't stop James from striving, but it brought him greater peace and immense joy in the present. He no longer felt the pressure to constantly seek something more to feel fulfilled, because he realized he was already incredibly wealthy, starting from the point zero of gratitude. The vibrational frequency of abundance and happiness radiated from him, not only making his personal life more meaningful, but also positively inspiring those around him. Before you acquire what you desire, practice gratitude as if you are starting from zero, cherishing the smallest things. This doesn't mean denying your difficulties or your greater aspirations. Rather, it is about consciously choosing a perspective, an energetic state. When you become aware that even the most basic things in life are precious blessings, you are creating a vibrational frequency of abundance. And according to the law of attraction, that frequency will naturally draw more good things to you, more reasons to feel grateful. Gratitude from point zero is a reminder that true wealth lies not only in the destination, but also in the journey itself and in our capacity to cherish every moment. A practice for gratitude from point zero. To cultivate a grateful heart and a vibrational frequency of abundance, you can try the following steps. Find a moment of stillness. Point zero. Begin by taking a few minutes to quiet your mind. You can close your eyes, breathe deeply, and gently bring your mind to the zero state, or simply visualize a peaceful empty space. Imagine having nothing. From that stillness, gently imagine that you are at an absolute starting point where you possess nothing specific. This isn't meant to evoke feelings of lack, but to create a completely fresh mindset for receiving. Receive again. The first gifts. From this point zero, begin to receive again the most fundamental gifts of life, as if they were being bestowed upon you for the very first time. The breath you are inhaling and exhaling, the heart beating in your chest, the ability of your senses to see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. Your body to whatever degree of health supporting you. Feel the wonder and sincere gratitude for each of these. Expand the circle of gratitude. Continue to receive again other blessings in your life, from the small and simple to the larger ones. A roof over your head, the food you have for the day, clean water to drink, a comfortable bed to rest in, sunlight, a cool breeze, a flower in bloom, a smile from a loved one, a kind word from a friend, a skill you possess, a piece of knowledge you've learned. Feel abundance spreading. With each thing you receive again from point zero, allow the feeling of gratitude and abundance to permeate every cell of your being. Realize that even without what you are currently longing for, you are already incredibly rich. Maintain the frequency of gratitude. Try to carry this feeling of gratitude and abundance with you into your daily life. Whenever you find yourself focusing on lack, gently bring your mind back to the gratitude from point zero practice. Remember, gratitude is not a passive emotion. It is a conscious choice, an active practice. When you choose to begin each day, each moment from the point zero of gratitude, you are co-creating a reality filled with joy, abundance, and countless wonders waiting to be discovered. Chapter 17, The Perfect Zero Circle, the Seal of Wholeness. In the journey of creating our reality, our minds hold a wondrous power through the faculty of visualization. When we combine the image of our goal with the sacred symbol of zero, we are doing more than just dreaming. We are sealing our intention with the energy of completeness, of potential, already taking form, and of divine protection from the universe. Robert, after bravely inscribing his inspiring zero-based goals, began the process of actualizing them with renewed energy. He understood the need for action and effort, yet sometimes amidst the hustle and bustle of life, seeds of doubt would still creep in. Am I on the right track? Is this truly feasible? Am I perhaps just indulging in fanciful dreams? These questions, though not as intense as before, would occasionally cloud his focus and faith. He longed for something to further fortify his intention, an energetic imprint to shield his dreams from negative influences, both internal and external. During a workshop on the power of symbols and creative visualization, Robert was introduced to a special technique, visualizing the perfect zero circle. The facilitator explained that when we envision our goal completely enveloped within a radiant zero circle, we are engaging in something far more profound than mere imagination. That circle, with its inherent perfection and infinity, symbolizes wholeness. Your goal in the very moment of visualization is already a complete and flawless entity. Potential actualized zero inherently contains all potential. Placing your goal within it affirms that the capacity for this goal to become reality has been activated and is ready to manifest. The universe's protection, the zero circle, acts like a sacred space, an energetic shield sheltering your goal from doubts and fears, while simultaneously inviting support and blessings from the universe. This idea immediately captivated Robert. He felt a deep resonance with it. Visualizing a specific powerful symbol like the zero circle seemed to offer a more tangible sense of reassurance and strength. He began the practice. Each day, after his moments of stillness in the zero state, Robert would take time to visualize each of his goals. He clearly saw the image of the goal already accomplished: a successful community project, harmonious family relationships, vibrant health. Then he would slowly imagine a zero circle made of brilliant golden light, or perhaps pure white light, gradually appearing and completely enveloping that image of his achieved goal. The circle was perfect, without a single flaw, radiating an energy of peace, certainty, and joy. He felt his goal was safe, nurtured, and divinely protected within that sacred circle. As he practiced this regularly, Robert noticed a significant shift in his perception. His previous doubts dissipated more quickly. In their place grew a steadfast faith, an unusual calmness when facing challenges on the path to his goals. He felt as if he were no longer alone, but accompanied and supported by an invisible energy. Events also seemed to unfold more favorably. Opportunities arrived at the right moment, and the necessary people appeared in his life. The zero circle was not just an image in his mind. It had become a powerful affirmation, an energetic anchor that helped him walk his path with firm resolve. The story of Chloe, a pianist preparing for an important performance, also offers a beautiful testament to the power of the zero circle. She had practiced diligently, but as the performance date drew nearer, her anxiety and pressure mounted. She feared making mistakes, feared she wouldn't be able to convey the full emotion of the music. A friend who was also a spiritual practitioner suggested Chloe try visualizing her performance enveloped in a perfect zero circle. Envision yourself playing sublimely. Her friend advised, the concert hall silent, everyone listening intently, and all of this sheltered and blessed within a circle of light. Chloe followed the advice. Each night before sleep, she visualized herself sitting at the piano on stage. The lights were brilliant, and then a zero circle of shimmering silver light would appear, encompassing her, the piano, and the entire auditorium. Within that circle, she saw herself playing with confidence and passion, each note touching the hearts of the listeners. She felt a sense of protection, completeness, and pure joy. This practice brought Chloe an astonishing sense of calm. Fear gradually gave way to focus and a belief in her own abilities in the perfection of that moment. On the day of the performance, she walked onto the stage with a rare confidence and serenity. Her performance was not only a technical success, but also deeply moved the audience. Chloe clearly felt that the energy of the zero circle had accompanied her, transforming her performance into a sacred and whole experience. When you visualize your goal enveloped in a perfect zero circle, you are performing a potent ritual of affirmation. You are declaring to the universe and to your own subconscious mind, this is already a complete reality on a higher energetic level. Its potential has been awakened. It is loved, protected, and is on its way to manifesting in the most perfect manner. The zero symbol, with its emptiness that contains everything, its infinity that is yet complete, becomes a sacred seal for your dreams, inviting the flow of creativity and universal support to stream powerfully into your life. A practice for sealing your dreams with the perfect zero circle. To use the power of the perfect zero circle in actualizing your goals, you can practice the following steps. Clearly define your goal. Have a clear, positive image or feeling of what you wish to achieve. Return to stillness. Take a few minutes to relax, breathe deeply, or practice a short zero-state meditation to allow your mind to become calm and receptive. Visualize the goal accomplished. Bring the image of your goal already realized into your mind. Feel the joy, satisfaction, and gratitude as if it has already happened. Make this image as vivid as possible. Create the zero circle. Now imagine a radiant, perfect zero circle, zero, formed from pure light. You can choose a color of light that feels resonant and meaningful to you, golden, silver, white, blue, etc. Visualize this circle slowly appearing and completely enveloping the image of your goal. Feel the meaning of the circle. As your goal rests securely within the zero circle, become aware of its profound meanings. Wholeness. This goal is perfect and complete. Potential actualized. The potential of this goal is awakened and ready to manifest. Universe's protection. This goal is loved, protected, and supported by the universe. Harmony. This goal is in harmony with my highest good and the highest good of all concerned. Retain the feeling of peace and trust. Allow the feelings of peace, trust, and joy that arise from seeing your goal sealed within the zero circle to spread throughout your body and mind. Let go and trust. Gently release the image with the conviction that the energy has been activated and the universe is now working to bring this to you. Repeat regularly. Practice this visualization regularly, especially in the morning upon waking at night before sleeping, or whenever you feel the need to reinforce your faith and energy towards your goal. Consider the perfect zero circle as a trusted companion, a sacred tool that helps you hold fast to your faith, attract positive energy, and create your dreams from a space of wholeness and infinite potential. Chapter 18. The Miraculous Zero, Neutralizing Negativity, Restoring Inner Peace. In the unceasing flow of life, occasionally facing negative thoughts or emotions is unavoidable. It might be a sudden wave of anxiety, a fleeting disappointment, or frustration arising from unwelcome interactions. These energies, if not transformed, can cloud our inner peace and disrupt our state of balance. Fortunately, the zero state, with its inherent purity and neutrality, serves as a powerful tool for us to absorb or neutralize these energies, returning us to stillness and serenity. Laura, a mother and a freelancer, always endeavored to maintain a positive outlook on life. However, at times, pressures from work, worries about her children, or simply a day that didn't go as planned could plunge her into a state of stress and irritability. Negative thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," or "I can't manage everything," would begin to creep in, bringing with them feelings of fatigue and disorientation. She noticed that during such times, it was very difficult for her to escape the spiral of negativity, and it would even affect those around her. During a deep meditation practice, her instructor shared a special application of the zero state, its capacity for energy neutralization. Visualize zero, the instructor said, as a vast, silent space capable of receiving and transforming everything. When a strong negative thought or emotion arises, instead of trying to resist it or get swept away by it, you can consciously send that energy to zero. Imagine zero absorbing or neutralizing it, returning you to balance and peace. This idea initially felt somewhat abstract to Laura. How could an image or a state of mind actually absorb such potent emotions? Would it truly be effective when she was in the midst of an inner storm? However, driven by the desire to find peace for herself and her family, Laura decided to experiment. The next time, feelings of frustration and self-blaming thoughts began to surge after a difficult workday. She paused. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and visualized the zero state, an empty, silent space, yet incredibly powerful. Then she imagined herself gently gathering those frustrating emotions and negative thoughts like a dark, heavy cloud, and slowly, consciously pushing that cloud into the zero space. She watched as the cloud seemed to dissolve, to be neutralized, vanishing without a trace into the infinite stillness. An unexpected sense of lightness spread through her. The frustration didn't vanish instantly, but it lost its power to dominate her. The self-recriminating thoughts also became more distant. Laura realized she didn't need to fight her negative emotions. She could choose to transform them. With each practice, she became more adept at sending to zero these unwanted energies. She felt she had an effective tool to quickly regain her balance, to avoid being submerged by emotional waves, and to maintain a more peaceful space for herself and her loved ones. The story of David, a manager who frequently had to deal with stressful situations and conflicts at work, also demonstrates the effectiveness of using zero to neutralize energy. Previously, after every tense meeting or each time he had to resolve a difficult issue, David would often carry his frustration and pressure home with him. These negative emotions affected his sleep and his relationships with his family. When a friend shared the technique of neutralizing energy with zero, David decided to apply it as a way to discharge the stresses of the day. After each pressure-filled situation, he would spend a few minutes sitting quietly at his desk or in his car before heading home. He would recall the stressful energies, the harsh words, or his own feelings of helplessness. Then he would imagine a radiant zero circle appearing, and all those negative energies being drawn into it, dissolved and returned to a neutral state within that circle. This practice helped David feel energetically cleansed, after each workday. He no longer carried those invisible burdens home. He felt he could better separate his work and personal life, maintaining greater calm and clarity, even when facing challenges. His colleagues also noticed he reacted less negatively, and his work relationships gradually improved. Zero had become an energetic pit stop for him, a place where he could release what was unnecessary and recharge with peace. Negative thoughts and emotions, in essence, are just forms of energy. And energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be transformed or neutralized. The zero state, with its absolute stillness and infinite potential, acts as a powerful catalyst for this transformation. Just as a vast ocean can easily absorb and dissolve a few drops of ink without becoming clouded, or as a grounding wire can safely neutralize excess electrical current, zero has the capacity to receive negative energies without being affected, simultaneously returning us to a state of balance and original purity. Actively sending unwanted energies to zero is not an act of emotional suppression. It is an act of wisdom, a way for us to cease being victims of our inner storms and instead become masters of our own inner peace. A practice for neutralizing negativity with the miraculous zero. When you are confronted with a negative thought or emotion, try applying the following steps to harness the power of zero early recognition. As soon as you become aware of the emergence of a negative thought, e.g., self-criticism, excessive worry, or an uncomfortable emotion, e.g., anger, sadness, fear, pause for a moment. Silently name it if that helps you. Create a short pause. Take a few slow, deep breaths. This helps create a little distance between you and the emotion or thought, rather than being immediately swept away by it. Summon the image feeling of zero. Close your eyes if circumstances permit and consciously bring the image or sensation of the zero state into your mind. This could be a perfect circle of light, a vast, silent space, or simply the feeling of peace and emptiness you've experienced in meditation. Consciously entrust the negative energy. Visualize the negative thought or emotion as a specific object, a dark cloud, a heavy block of energy, a tightening rope. With clear intention, imagine yourself gently pushing, letting float, or directing that negative energy object into the zero space or zero circle you are visualizing. Observe the neutralization absorption. Imagine the negative energy upon contacting zero being dissolved, neutralized, or completely absorbed, vanishing without a trace into the infinite stillness. Feel the zero space maintaining its purity and peace. Feel the inner change. Pay attention to any shift in your sensations. Has the anxiety lessened? Has the intensity of anger diminished? Do you feel lighter? Re-establish balance. Breathe deeply and feel peace and balance returning to you. You can silently affirm, this energy has been neutralized. I am returning to peace and balance. Repeat if necessary. If the emotion or negative thought is still strong, patiently repeat this process a few more times. Remember, zero is always there, like a safe refuge and an endless source of purifying energy within you. By practicing regularly, you will become increasingly adept at using this miraculous power to dissolve negativity, maintain inner peace, and live a lighter, more balanced life, regardless of the storms outside. Chapter 19. Affirmations from Point Zero, Crafting Your New Reality. Affirmations are the word seeds we sow into the fertile ground of our subconscious, hoping they will sprout into a beautiful reality. However, sometimes, if not sown from the right mindset, these seeds may struggle to take root or even create inner resistance. A powerful method to enhance the potency of affirmations is to begin them by accepting your current state as a potential zero point, a neutral, pure starting place where all possibilities are wide open. Eleanor was a firm believer in the power of positive thinking and had practiced affirmations for many years. She would read them each morning, write them in her journal, and strive to maintain an optimistic attitude. Yet there were periods, especially when facing financial challenges or instability in her relationships, when she felt her affirmations sounded hollow, like a thin coat of paint attempting to cover an uncomfortable reality. The statement, "I am rich and prosperous," seemed to directly contradict the mounting bills, or the affirmation, "I have harmonious and loving relationships," felt out of place amidst unresolved misunderstandings. This internal conflict sometimes made her feel even worse, as if she were deceiving herself. During a workshop on the art of consciously creating one's life, Eleanor was introduced to a new approach, affirming with zero energy. And the instructor explained that instead of trying to use affirmations to fight against or deny our current reality, we can begin by accepting that reality as a point zero, a neutral starting point, neither good nor bad, simply where we are now. From this potential zero-point, affirmations no longer carry the energy of lack or resistance, but become creative declarations, conscious choices for a new direction. For instance, instead of just saying, "I am happy," someone feeling sad could start with, "From the 0 point of this current emotion, I choose and open myself to receive joy and peace." This idea immediately resonated with Eleanor. She realized her resistance wasn't to the affirmations themselves, but to the feeling of having to pretend that everything was okay when she didn't feel that way. Starting from point zero seemed to offer a sense of authenticity and a more allowing space. Eleanor began to experiment. Each time she prepared to practice her affirmations, she would spend a few minutes connecting with the zero state, sensing the stillness and pure potential within. She accepted her current emotions and circumstances as a starting point, a here and now. Then she would voice her affirmations beginning with phrases like, "From this 0 point," starting from this state of being, with zero energy as the foundation. For example, when facing financial worries, instead of just mechanically repeating, "I am a money magnet," she would say, "From the 0 point of my current financial situation, I open myself to receive the universe's infinite flow of prosperity. I am grateful for all resources coming to me." When feeling lonely, she would affirm, "From the 0 point of this stillness, I attract and nurture sincere, loving, and respectful relationships." A remarkable change took place. Her affirmations no longer felt forced. They became more powerful, more authentic, and carried an energy of serenity and trust. Eleanor no longer felt she was trying to push away her current reality. Instead, she was standing firmly within it, and from that place creating a new future. Her inner resistance significantly diminished, and she began to notice small positive changes in her life, like signs indicating that her affirmations were truly taking root and sprouting from a more carefully prepared soul ground. The story of Ben, a man striving to learn a new language for his dream job, also illustrates the effectiveness of this method. He often felt discouraged by his slow progress and repeated mistakes. Affirmations like, "I speak English fluently," sometimes made him feel even more pressured and inadequate, when in reality he still stumbled. After a friend shared the concept of affirming from point zero, Ben decided to try it. Before each study session, he would take a moment to quiet his mind, accepting his current proficiency level as a point zero, not as a weakness, but as a starting point. Then he would affirm, "From the 0 point of my current knowledge, I easily absorb, remember, and use the new language confidently and effectively. I improve every day." This approach helped Ben release the pressure to be perfect immediately. He felt he was building brick by brick from a solid foundation of accepting his current reality. His discouragement lessened, replaced by persistence and a sense of joy in the learning process. He realized that starting from point zero helped his affirmations become sincere words of encouragement, a commitment to progress, rather than a stressful comparison to a distant, idealized model. Creating affirmations that begin by accepting your current state as a potential 0 point is a way to work harmoniously with the energy of the universe rather than against it. Point 0 is a place of no judgment, no resistance, only pure potential. When your affirmations are voiced from that space, they carry the power of authenticity, acceptance, and clear creative intent. This method doesn't deny where you are currently standing. Rather, it honors that place as the perfect launch pad for what you want to become and what you wish to attract into your life. It is the art of creating from the very center of your being. A practice for affirming from 0 energy, for your affirmations to become more powerful and resonate more deeply with your desires. Try practicing the following steps. Clearly define what you want to affirm. What is the goal or state you wish to create? Express it clearly, positively, and in the present tense as if it is already yours. Connect with your current point 0. Take a few minutes to quiet your mind. Breathe deeply. Fully accept your current state, your emotions, circumstances, thoughts without judgment. Consider this your point 0, a neutral and potential-filled starting point. Craft your 0 affirmation. Begin your affirmation with a phrase that acknowledges this point 0. Here are a few suggestions from this 0 point of mine. Starting from this pure state of being, from this present moment, this point of potential, with this 0 energy as the foundation for my creation. Accepting where I am as point 0 I now. State your desire following your opening phrase. State what you wish to affirm. For example, I open myself to receive the infinite flow of prosperity and abundance. I easily attract and nurture loving, respectful, and supportive relationships. I create perfect health, vibrant energy, and joy in living every day. I confidently express my unique talents and value to the world. Feel the power from within. As you read or speak your affirmation, feel its truth and power. Know that it is not an empty phrase, but a creative declaration voiced from a space of acceptance and infinite potential. Repeat with firm intention. Practice these 0 affirmations regularly, especially in the morning as you begin a new day or whenever you feel the need to reset your energy and redirect your focus. Remember, every moment is a new point 0, a new opportunity for you to choose and create. By using affirmations rooted in this pure energy, you are inviting the very best into your life from a place of peace, acceptance, and boundless inner strength. Chapter 20. 0. The Gateway to Boundless Cosmic Consciousness. Beneath the surface of tangible reality, transcending the limits of individual thought, there exists a vast realm of consciousness, an energy field containing all knowledge, all potential, and every answer we seek. 0, in its absolute stillness and purity, is not merely a state of mind. It is a sacred gateway, a pathway leading us to that boundless cosmic consciousness. When we dare to step through the threshold of nothingness, we can touch everything in its most primordial form. Dr. Alistair Finch, an astrophysicist who had dedicated his life to understanding the mysteries of the universe, still felt, despite his many scientific achievements, that there was something beyond equations and theories. He yearned for a deeper understanding of the nature of reality, a source of inspiration that could illuminate discoveries beyond pure logic. Sometimes during long nights spent tirelessly by his telescope or amidst complex calculations, he sensed the limitations of his individual intellect and a vague longing for a greater intelligence, a cosmic consciousness whispering secrets that science had not yet managed to grasp. During a period of significant research deadlock, Alistair chanced upon the writings of ancient sages and even pioneering theories in modern quantum physics, all of which alluded to a unified field, a common conscious foundation connecting all things. He was particularly drawn to the concept of void, hu hong, or emptiness, tin kong in Eastern philosophy, a state that was not meaningless emptiness, but the very wellspring of all creation, a point at which all is one and potential is infinite. This reminded him of the zero state he had practiced in his younger years to enhance his focus. He decided to return to his meditation practice, but this time with a deeper intention, not just to quiet his mind, but to explore the possibility of connecting with what he began to call the zero cosmic consciousness. He envisioned zero not merely as the absence of thought, but as a vast, radiant, and intelligent space, a gateway to a cosmic library containing all knowledge. The initial meditation sessions were still challenging. Overcoming the analytical habits of a scientist to touch a state of pure not knowing was no easy feat. But Alistair persisted. Gradually, in moments of deepening stillness, he began to feel the dissolution of his personal ego. He was no longer Alistair, the physicist, with his accumulated knowledge and preconceptions. There was only a merging, a sensation of dissolving into a vast, boundless flow of consciousness. Then one day, during a profound meditation, when he was completely relaxed and open, an extraordinary clarity dawned upon him. It wasn't a mathematical formula or a new piece of observational data, but a deep intuitive understanding of a problem that had perplexed him for so long. An unexpected idea, an entirely new perspective on the structure of the universe, appeared vividly in his mind, as if it had been downloaded from an infinite source of information. When he returned to his work, that idea opened up a breakthrough research direction yielding results that far exceeded his expectations. Alistair realized that the zero state was indeed a gateway. When he dared to relinquish his own knowing, he was granted access to the knowing of the universe. The story of Alara, a pianist searching for new inspiration for her compositions, echoes a similar theme. She felt that the melodies she had been writing recently were somewhat repetitive, lacking the depth and uniqueness she craved. She sensed she had exhausted her inner creative well. Her music teacher, a man not only erudite in music, but also possessed of deep spiritual insight, suggested Alara try meditation to listen from the silence. He said, "The greatest music comes not just from technique or intellect, but from a connection with a greater source of inspiration, a cosmic creative consciousness. The zero state is where you can find that connection." Lara began the practice with the intention of becoming a clear conduit for the universe's creative flow. She would sit by her piano, not trying to think up melodies, but simply sinking into the stillness of the zero state. She visualized herself expanding her soul, listening for the subtle sounds, the rhythms of the universe that were inaudible amidst the noise of daily life. Gradually, in those moments of profound stillness, new melodies began to find their way to her. They were unlike anything she had ever written. They possessed an unfamiliar beauty, an emotional depth, and a harmony that transcended complex techniques. It felt as if she wasn't composing, but rather interpreting music that already existed in the vast expanse of consciousness. Ilara's new works touched the hearts of her listeners profoundly because they were not just the product of an individual, but also carried the resonance of something vast and eternal. She had found her endless wellspring of inspiration when she dared to merge with cosmic consciousness from point zero. Zero, in its most profound dimension, is the very gateway to cosmic consciousness, where all knowledge, all wisdom, all creative potential exists in its purest form, readily accessible. When we practice meditation or contemplation with the intention to connect, visualizing ourselves merging with this energy, we are opening ourselves to receive guidance, enlightenment, and boundless inspiration. This is not about losing oneself, but about expanding oneself to become part of the great whole, where each individual can reflect and manifest the infinite wisdom of the universe. A practice for unifying with cosmic consciousness from point zero. To experience this profound connection, you can try the following steps, especially once you are familiar with entering the zero state. Prepare for a sacred encounter. Choose a time and space of absolute quiet, where you will not be disturbed, and can allow yourself to sink deeply into stillness. Enter a deep zero state. Begin with your familiar zero-state meditation practice. Be patient and gentle, allowing your mind to quiet completely, moving beyond all thoughts, worries, or expectations. Aim for a state of complete nothingness. Set the intention to connect. When you feel you have reached a state of deep stillness and emptiness, gently set forth your intention. I now open my consciousness to connect with the zero cosmic consciousness. I am ready to receive guidance, wisdom, and inspiration for my highest good and the good of all. Visualize merging or opening a gateway. Imagine the zero space around you or within you beginning to expand infinitely, transforming into a radiant ocean of light, a vast, intelligent, and loving field of consciousness. Feel the boundaries of your personal self slowly dissolve as your consciousness gently blends and unifies with that cosmic ocean of awareness. Sense the peace, the connection, the wholeness. Alternatively, you can visualize zero as a luminous gateway. See yourself bravely and trustingly stepping through that portal into a realm of pure wisdom and infinite potential. Listen with your whole soul. In this state of connection and unification, maintain an attitude of complete openness and receptivity. Don't try to find answers or analyze. Simply be there, fully present, and allow any messages, inspiration, or understanding to come to you naturally. This may arrive as a feeling, an image, a sudden thought, a wordless knowing, or a deep sense of conviction. Ask questions if desired. If you have a specific question or an area of your life for which you are seeking guidance, you can gently pose that question into this space of cosmic consciousness, and then return to a state of silent, receptive listening. Return with gratitude. When you feel it is time to conclude, slowly bring your awareness back to your physical body and your surroundings. Carry with you the sensations and messages you have received. Take a moment to express deep gratitude for this sacred connection. Journal if needed after your practice. Journaling your experiences, ideas, or sudden inspirations can help you remember and integrate them into your daily life. Remember, the zero cosmic consciousness is always there, like a gentle, all-encompassing mother, ever ready to shelter, nurture, and grant wisdom to her children. Each time you return to point zero with an open heart and a yearning soul, you are knocking on the door of infinite wisdom. And that door will always be wide open to welcome you. Conclusion: the zero state, your golden key to the law of attraction. And so we have journeyed together through a deep exploration of the zero state, a still, pure, and potential-filled space hidden right within each of us. From calming the mind and reducing resistance to touching clarity, sparking endless inspiration, and even connecting with the vast cosmic consciousness, each chapter has unveiled a wondrous facet of this serene zero point. We have seen how Sarah found peace amidst the busyness of life, how Michael overcame creative blocks, and how Eleanor discovered a new path when her mind became as clear as an autumn lake. We also journeyed with James as he learned to let go of control and allow life's flow to guide him, and with Olivia as she found healing by daring to create space for new things to enter her life. Each story, each character's experience serves as a vivid testament to the transformative power of returning to zero. Now, as we temporarily close these pages, there is one core message I wish to leave with you, a truth that has been silently present throughout our entire journey. When you practice returning to the zero state, you are creating the most favorable conditions for the law of attraction to operate powerfully and effectively, helping your desires find their way to you with greater ease. Imagine the law of attraction as a fertile cosmic river, always ready to bring you what you truly desire and resonate with. However, our worries, doubts, fears, or our attachment to specific outcomes are like boulders, invisible dams that obstruct this flow. They create resistance, distort our vibrational frequency, render the messages we send unclear and make our energy incompatible with the very good things we wish for. The zero state, with its inherent stillness and purity, is your most powerful tool to clear away these obstacles. At point zero, resistance dissolves. Your mind is no longer dominated by "I can't" or "what if," but becomes expansive, allowing the universe's flow to circulate freely. From point zero, clarity is enhanced. You know what you truly want from a deep and authentic place, sending strong, consistent signals to the universe. The zero state elevates your vibrational frequency. The peace, love, and faith that blossom from this quiet space will bring you into resonance with good things, making you a magnet for positive experiences. When you let go of control and embrace acceptance from point zero, you create a vast space to receive. The universe has myriad ways to bring you what you desire, often in ways more surprising and wonderful than you can imagine. And most importantly, when you begin from the potential 0 point, you are creating from a clean, energetic state, untainted by the limitations of the past, allowing the law of attraction to bring results that most truly reflect your infinite potential. Imagine yourself as a gardener. The zero state is the process by which you carefully clear the weeds, till the soil of your soul, and remove the stones of limiting beliefs. When this ground is truly pure and fertile, every seed of a dream you plant your intentions. Your desires will have the optimal conditions to germinate, take deep root, and stretch powerfully towards the sunlight of manifestation. The law of attraction in this instance is the sunshine, the rain, the natural nutrients of the universe, always ready to nourish seeds sown in well-prepared earth. The journey of exploring the zero state does not end with reading these pages. It is an invitation for you to transform this understanding into your own vivid lived experience. Practice with patience, be gentle with yourself, and trust in the extraordinary inner power that awaits its awakening from the serene 0 point. Each day, dedicate precious moments to return to stillness, to reset your energy, to listen to the whispers of the universe, and to sow the seeds of your dreams from a space of purity and infinite potential. When you master the art of returning to zero, you will not only find peace and clarity, but also hold the golden key for the law of attraction to work its greatest magic in your life, gently guiding your heart's deepest desires to find their way to you. Wishing you a journey of return filled with discovery and a life created from the wondrous 0 point itself.